What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Ask a Fence Guy Thursday. Ask Me Anything live Thursday with I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, joined by the one, the only Mr. Fence. Sean, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm not digging holes right now. I'm inside a warm building. I'm not freezing my butt off.
There's a lot to be said for that.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Down here in Southwest Missouri, we don't get as cold as you guys do, but it's snowing today, so it's kind of an oddity for us.
It's snowing there where you're at?
Yeah.
I'll be darned. No, not here. It was cold. Snowing.
It rained all night, but it stayed just above freezing, so it didn't turn too dangerous. And then earlier today, it switched over to snow. So it is it is what it is. It's wintertime.
Aren't we about the same crust? I mean, we're about central. You're about central, I thought.
Weird. You guys might be a little. Well, I don't know. I have to bust out my map. I think you guys might be a little further north.
Here we go with geography. Then.
I know. It's why I'm a fence guy, not big on geography.
Right, me too.
Well, guys, welcome to the broadcast. I want to bring up a couple of you guys, say hi to you. Fence King Dan Blank has been waiting patiently to say hello. And he's got a question. He said, "Are you going to be Team Florida Gators with the blue and orange today? If so, I'm going to have to go and put on my purple and gold LSU." Here's the funny thing: is I always know where someone is, like in the country when they ask me about my team. Right? They'll say, "Oh, yeah, you're Syracuse, right?" Or like, "Go Longhorns." Or I don't follow college sports that much at all, so I'm not like I don't have a team really.
Right.
But you can always tell where someone's from. We're like, "Oh yeah." So we obviously know Dan's in the South. He's but yeah.
And I love the name Fence King. I'm a little biased to the word Fence King. Not just my last name, but just for those who don't know, I used to own a fence company called Fence King.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. We had a business called Fence King. We might get into that a little later why we did that. And that was at the same time we owned Mr. Fence. But let's check in with everybody and come back to that.
We're going to tuck that in the back of our minds. I'd like to recall that here in a little bit.
All right.
So, but Fence King wants to let everyone know that he did say hi about an hour ago.
Well, you could have been building fence for the last hour.
Well, it is the truth, though, because it kind of shows me comments as they come in. I'm sitting here like trying to, in all honesty, I was working out some video issues on my end, and up pops his comment, his first comment. So,
oh my gosh,
Dan, thank you. Appreciate you sticking around for a while. What is up, Cannon Johnson, Jackson Fence? Yes. They're in West Tennessee.
Team Blue. That's my Tennessee Team Blue.
That's right. He's so Cannon's actually only about 4 hours from us. He and I chatted the other day.
He's motivated.
Nolan says, "What is up, guys?" Oh, and Nolan knows Cannon too. Says your work is top notch. Check that out.
That was some nice work.
We're gonna need to talk to Cannon. All right, let's see. So, did you announce the winners of your giveaway? So, yes and no. So I put it up on the Facebook and on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/The Real Joe Everest. I was going to do, I had planned to do a live announcement on Tuesday morning. But as you guys know, I brought home a little one last Wednesday, and it wasn't in the cards. It just, my shift right now is overnight shift. So I let Mama Bear sleep during the evenings and kind of recuperate. I mean, she had surgery, so we got to let her rest and recuperate a little bit. And little one was up quite a bit that night. She hasn't figured out that nighttime's for sleeping yet. So the live broadcast Tuesday morning did not happen. But let me do this. Let me pull it up. I can't show you guys. What I was wanting to do is show you guys the winners, because I know there's going to be folks out there that are skeptical, and that's fine. The problem with showing you guys the winners is when I look at it on my end, it shows me the full email address, but it also shows me their IP address. I think it's the platform's way of making sure that not one person, entered with 5 or 6 emails. But that's probably not information that they would like for me to share with you guys. So let me do this. I will read you the first portion of the email address, and then we'll go from there. And like I said, if you guys want to see the picture of it, it's actually on Facebook, facebook.com/The Real Joe Everest. 10 winners of $1,000 Amazon e-gift cards. You've got Donna Potvin. You've got MV Freeman IS. You've got Ginger Ramage. You've got Ray Truzik. You've got Maseese, Maseese. You've got Burkett Brandy. You've got A. Miller. You've got KY Joey Young, Brennan's Towers, and Jerry Huber are our 10 winners of the $1,000 Amazon e-gift card. The gift card got sent out automatically, basically right when it awarded it. So there was a question on one of my YouTube videos where I was announcing that on how the redemption goes, right? So the way the process works is when you entered in your email address, you are then sent a verification email just to make sure the email address is legitimate. Once you clicked on the verification link, then that email address was entered in the contest. So emails were verified. That way, if someone misspelled their name or something like that, there weren't random gift cards sent out into the world that weren't going to get redeemed. So anyway, congratulations to the 10 winners of the $1,000 Amazon e-gift cards, 10K giveaway. You know, you guys are awesome. You got us to 10K pretty quickly, 10,000 subscribers. And actually, since then, we're up over 13,000 now. So you guys are amazing.
So I need to get to know more fence people because I don't recognize one of those names.
I know. It went to everyone. It went to everybody. So not just fence fam, but I did that too. When I was going through the winners, I was like, who do I know? Like, are there any of these people I know? I did it from the standpoint of like, there's going to be cynical people out there. I absolutely understand that. So while I hope, people that I know and my friends do well, I was kind of hoping they didn't show up on the list because, I mean, there's going to be some cynicism there. But anyway, so there's your announcement. If you guys didn't win, here's what I'm thinking, guys. I'm thinking, we do a big giveaway at each landmark, right? So 10,000 subscribers is a landmark. 25,000 is the next landmark. Now, I don't think we'll be giving out $25,000 worth of gift cards. Never know, though. Like, don't rule anything out, I guess. Stain and Seal of Fort Worth. What is up, Joe and everybody? What is up, Stain and Seal of Fort Worth?
Fort Worth.
What's up, guys? All right, so Star McDaniel. Congratulations on new baby girl. Thank you, Star. I appreciate that a lot. Let's see. And Star is from Maine. So I like to play a game here where I keep track of kind of where everybody's from. Do we have the whole map covered and all that? We had a guy, so probably a month ago, had a guy from London on the broadcast, which is, if you do the math real quick on time change, that fellow was up pretty late or early, depending on how you
look at it.
Yeah, how you look at it. Kaon, what is up? Kaon's with us like every single week. What is up, buddy? Appreciate you stopping in, saying hey.
It's a wicked logo he's got.
Yeah, I like that a lot. He probably looks like a graphic designer, I would bet. Looks really nice. Stephen Albert, move to the Ozarks and find digging post holes is no easy chore here. He's not kidding.
You talk about this all the time. It's always harder somewhere else.
That's right. Well, I've got this whole thing, and everyone's always heard me say it, but everyone always thinks they have it the worst, right? And I always say, if you don't believe that, go to a fence tech and just walk down an aisle and say, you know what? Everybody else has it too easy because where I'm from, I've got rocks. Oh, you'll get a crowd of 100 people around you going, oh yeah, you think you've got rocks?
You call that a rock? This is a rock.
Yeah, right. Oh, I don't have chunk rock. I've got ledge rock, and let me tell you about ledge rock. Or I've got blue rock. Or there's guys who are like, well, you guys are fortunate to have rocks because we just have loose soil. We have to dig down to where we find
collapses. Or water. I'm underwater, yeah.
Yeah, right. Water table, which you're familiar with down in Florida. Yeah. Everybody's always got it worse, right? Yep. John Bounty, what is up? So I've got a nickname for John. I call him Rowdy Bowdy.
Rowdy Bowdy.
John's got things figured out. He really does. I like talking to John a lot.
Where's he out of?
He's out of Indiana as well. So he's what do you tell me? 3 or 4 hours away from you or so? Something like that.
Because I'm about as far south as you can get.
Okay. Must be. Mike Valkanet.
Yes. Yep.
What's up, guys? Express Fence out of Texas. A lot of Texas fellas here. I like it.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he's the guy that puts up a lot of drone footage, some cool shots. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's been doing that.
I like that idea a lot. So I'm actually in the process of getting not flight certified, but like my non-flying pilot's license, if that makes sense, so that we can use drone footage legally and be compliant with that. I think that's a great idea. Because you're giving people just a different perspective, a greater perspective of what the fence looks like or the property. I like that. Wade Tackney, hello from My Father's Son Fence Company, Prior Lake, Minnesota. My Father's Son Fence. I like that a lot.
Minnesota, that's going to be cold.
Yeah, I bet they are no strangers.
Yeah.
No strangers to snow and ice, I bet. Mandy Bain. Hi, Joe and Sean. What is up, Mandy? Mandy's with Stainless Steel Experts.
Yes.
Hello, Mandy. Fence Armor's in the house. Hello, Sean and Joe.
Yes.
Hello, Fence Armor. We talked quite a lot about Fence Armor here lately.
I wonder if that's Al.
It probably is. It probably is, knowing him. Fence Armor, you guys, we talk about these guys a lot. They're of course, the Fence Armor. They're also the Post Saver sleeve that we talked about quite a bit last week. Nolan Latham's here from Boise, Idaho, American Valley Fence, and need fencing installed. So I like
the name need fencing installed.
I like that a lot. So I've seen something similar to that, like we need fencing or just fencing, stuff like that.
Or Dan's got the website Fence This Yard.
I like that a lot.
It's pretty slick.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dan, there's Dylan.
Yeah, Fence Prince is in the house. What is up? We got the Fence King and the Fence Prince. I like this a lot.
Yep.
Boo Boo Bang Bang is here quite often. If you guys were going to install a vinyl fence at your home, DIY style, what product brands would you favor and avoid? What would your process be, and what are some must-dos? And I'm guessing that's not Donnie's. I'm guessing do's and don'ts.
I don't know if it's a brand necessarily, but the difference between do-yourself is the prefab panel that don't rack. Like that's really the core and gist of the difference is non-racking, glued apart panels that don't perform very well, and they don't look very good with all the stair stepping in the grade. That's one of the major differences I see, necessarily not brand. Yeah,
you asked a question to the right guy. Sean's like, technically Mr. Fence, but he might as well be Mr. Vinyl.
Yeah,
so you guys do quite a bit of vinyl, don't you?
True. A lot of that's mainly what we do. The majority of what we do. Over half of what we do, maybe more, is vinyl, and then aluminum's right behind it. So
we don't do a lot of vinyl in our market, but one thing I would add to that would be the aluminum stiffener and the bottom rail. That's usually a really big separator, right?
So that is a key piece. We're going to have some sort of technology to keep that from sagging, because vinyl is not strong enough to support its own weight, right? So there's got to be something there to keep that together. And there are some suppliers that figured out how to do it without the aluminum or without the steel, sure. But it's not normal. It's not common.
Yeah. And if you're in the DIY market, I think those are more like pro grade type suppliers, right?
And then the other thing you think about is whether it's going to be a connection fastener, like a bracket at the post, or if it's going to be a routed. If you're asking my preference, you're saying would you favor, I would definitely favor a rackable routed system, so where the rails go into the post for the connection, and rackable to follow the grade. That would be my preference. I'm not necessarily going to say any brand, but
sure,
product type.
Yeah, the routed post is huge too, because it gives that panel even that much more support.
Sure.
The vinyl fences that we see fail in our area are typically the ones that are bracketed. They're not routed.
Well, one thing to think about is expansion contraction with vinyl, right? So it's about 3% on expansion contraction. So when you bracket it, where's that going to go, right? So could it break? If it's a lower grade vinyl, we could probably break the bracket.
Well, that, and it's, because the vinyl or the bracket usually isn't there's usually not a screw through it into the panel. It's usually just holding that rail in, the ones I've seen. And so when you get constriction, or in the wintertime when that contracts. And you get wind load against it.
Yeah.
That's
not the bracket as much. Exactly.
Yeah. So, well, there you go. You asked the right guy. Wade says, I know your area, Joe. We got a family cabin in Beaver Lake in Arkansas. Okay, yeah. So a couple hours south of me. Very good. Very good. Boo Boo wants everyone to know they're from Nashville. What is up? We're actually going to be in your area next month.
February 26th.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. We're going to talk about that's one of the key things I've got up on my board is we're going to be talking about that. Vince Armour says, thanks for the support. It's Stephanie, social media girl. But Al, be sure to pop in too. I like that a lot. We'll give Al our best. We didn't, Stephanie. We didn't mean any slight. We just assumed Al.
We would rather have Stephanie anyways. I just didn't want to say it out loud.
Right. You would hate to hurt Al's feelings, honestly. Mike says, any new invention, jigs in the works? I love the creative tools Mr. Fence Tools sells.
We are always trying to be creative and work on new things. We do have the X-Man, which is working out to be very well. But there is a new tool in the works. But we're going to leave it at that right now. But there is one.
Okay. Without going too deep into it, what type of fence would it be for?
So it could be used for two types of fence and maintenance free.
There you go. There you go. You've heard it here first. Tony Thornton is in the house.
Tony, yes. AFA.
For the two people that don't know who Tony is, he's the executive director of the American Fence Association.
Yep.
You won't find a more dedicated guy to our industry.
I was talking to him late, just a couple nights ago in the evening. I had to shoot an idea by him. He answered his cell phone. It was amazing.
Well, right? that was exactly my experience. So Tony was on, I did an interview with him a couple months ago. And prior to that, I just shot him an email and said, hey, what do you think about doing this? And he responded, yep, here's my cell phone. Give me a call. And it was, I called, left him a message. He said, hey, I'm busy in a few things. Would it be all right if I called you back this evening? Yeah. Absolutely.
Even better.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, Tony, you won't find a guy that works harder for the industry at all.
Appreciate him.
Star says, I had a stockade fence put up in 1996. They had to blast for the metal post due to shale. Every year in the spring, panels fall down. How can I prevent this so we don't have to chase the dogs? I'm guessing stockade references like a wooden privacy fence, probably.
But if he's got metal poles that were blasted in, he probably has pretty good posts, right? So
yeah,
that's the panels falling down. I would steer away from prefab, do-it-yourself type panels. There are some nice prefab ones made by some businesses in the business of building fence, right? So some of the guys on the East Coast build prefab, and it's not junk by any means.
Sure.
But some of the stuff you find in some of the box stores for DIY, the rail can be 1.25 inches thick, maybe, and maybe inches tall. And so then you got to work with the connection. How much connection are you really going to get at the post? What's the bracket look like? Yep. So maybe you consider stick building it with some 2x4s and some lag bolts, carriage bolts through that.
Yep.
Might help.
Yeah, in our area, we predominantly stick build everything just because the terrain is pretty crazy here. That would be my thought too. So my mind goes to where are the points of failure, right? So your posts are obviously fine. And so your next point of failure is going to be your connections. What's holding the panels to that post?
Exactly.
And you're right with the pre-built panels. Usually the cross rails, the cross members are 1x3. So there's not a lot of meat there to hold a fastener into that post. Yeah. No worries at all. From Fitz Armor, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll definitely make sure to tell Al you'd rather have him here.
We didn't say that.
That's what we're saying.
We said we'd rather have Stephanie.
No, we just didn't. Stephanie, we like you here.
It's okay.
Yeah. All right. So first off, let's do this. Let's tell folks. I mean, I think anyone in the fencing industry knows Mr. Fence, but we also have a following outside the fencing industry. So why don't you let everyone know who is Mr. Fence, Sean? Who are you and what are you up to?
I'm this blue running around Smurf guy that's been living in the fence world his whole entire life. That's what he is. I grew up in the fence business, was in the family-owned business as a young kid. I was a little guy at 8 years old picking up trash and using hammer and nails. I mean, I can remember back in the day we built wood fence out of redwood, California, by hammering every nail and every picket on. That was how it was built back then. Yeah. So I'm that guy that never left this industry, and I'm very passionate about this industry for sure. It is, I eat, sleep, drink, and dream about fence. Like, it's so crazy that people around me are like, you might have a problem. I can't drive down the road without going, you see the fast heave on that fence?
Yes.
Did you see those rails come off? You see that sagging? And they're like, see what? So, I'm that guy. I have always been trying to push the envelope. I was fought with my father along the way, in that he used to say, I've done it this way for 15 years. We're going to keep doing it this way for 15 more years. And I would say, but why? son, you better listen to me. But why? And so I got into a lot of trouble early on, and I think I even got fired in my teen years a few times. And
It happens.
right. And then eventually we actually had a breakup. We realized this wasn't going to work. We were both adults and figured out it was going to work. And so early 2000s, as a very young buck, thinking I knew everything about the fence world. I mean, I really thought I had it all figured out. Let me tell you, 21 years old, and I'm like, I got this. Take over the family fence business, severely in debt. I should have ran. There's a whole nother story with that now, but a business doing $800,000 a year that was $384,000 in current debt due, not long-term debt like that was due, not a house, not we were renting and had broken down trucks. It was disastrous, but it taught me a lesson that I learned the hard way over the next 10 years trying to dig that out of the hole. So that's kind of what I spent was 10 years trying to get out of that. Yeah. But I was blessed in that my father introduced me to the AFA. I think it was like 1993. I went to the first event. He was, as much as we fought over trying to change how we built fence, he also was on a leading edge and was with the AFA, was always trying to better himself in the fence business. So, it wasn't all bad. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that. I got even credit for that. So at early age, a young kid going to fence tech at like 16 and 17 years old, walking around this place like a candy store.
Yeah.
For those of you that are watching this and haven't been to fence tech, you need to make it a priority.
You have to go.
Okay. You got to go. If you're in the fence business, it's like the Disney World of fence. You got to go. Everyone, if somebody is there, and there's all kinds of stuff to see if you really want to open your eyes and see what's there.
That's right.
So really on, get involved with fence tech, get involved with the AFA. So we've been members of the AFA. I don't know, Joe, maybe 25 years, 20,
okay.
Long time.
Yeah.
Okay. But I also went through a cycle where we were really involved and then we stepped back and we were really selfish about our business, and did not get so involved in it, and we got less from AFA. Like I tell people all the time, you get what you put into it. If you just pay the membership and send it in and wait for the little flyer to come in the door, I mean, come on.
It's not going to work.
Been there, done that. I was that guy for years, and I'm like, status quo in the fence. But the more you get involved, I meet guys like you and Caleb and Mark Olson and Luke. I mean, there's so many guys in there, Keith. I mean, there's so many guys. And this was way back before Facebook.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Before Facebook, the AFA was like the only way to really connect.
Sure.
But now we got a shortcut with Facebook. But anyways, that's who I am. Born and bred in the fence industry. Mr. Fence. We have a tool line, Mr. Fence Tools, and then we have the Mr. Fence Academy thing we're toying around with too.
So let's talk about that if you don't mind, the Mr. Fence Academy, because that really, I'm very interested in what you're up to there. Right.
I don't know what I'm up to. So, I've been trying to do this for a long time. So in 2006, when I thought I was taking over the whole world and I had it all figured out, that's where the Fence King thing came in. We had multiple companies and I franchised Mr. Fence. We sold our first franchise. And again, this was all bad timing. 2008 hit, economy hit. We ended up closing on that franchise and closed down pretty much everything else. But at that same time, I was working on videos, training videos back then, and tools, right? So we got archived videos of me standing in the shop with a whiteboard on a garage door with all the team sitting on fold-out chairs. I mean, 20 or 30 guys sitting there. And I'm drawing on a whiteboard on how to do an offset line to set your string line up if you got a tree in the way or a hill in the way or an object in the way. How do you get the fence parallel with the property line? All right, well, let's talk about it. I'm doing geometry and I'm doing Pythagorean theorem and offsets and everything. I'm teaching, and I got one of those old camcorders recording this. Like that's old school Mr. Fence Academy. It wasn't called Mr. Fence Academy.
Sure.
It was just Mr. Fence training. We were thinking like we need to find a way in order to grow our company and train our team members to get what's in here in their mind without them going through, I like to call it the wilderness, right? So in order to become a lumberjack, you have to go through the wilderness.
Sure.
You're all going to have to go through it. But the Mr. Fence Academy, what I'm doing, the hope is I'm going to give you some armor and a sword and a map, and I'm going to send you in there and say, go for it. You're still going to learn and fight the same battles, but we're going to give you some data. So that Mr. Fence Academy kind of started that way. I just didn't know what it was. Right?
Yeah.
And then we kind of lost track because of the economy in 08 and 09.
Sure.
I went to law enforcement, got distracted for about 10 years. And then now here we are. refocusing on the training for the past, I don't know, maybe a year and a half. It's since we started Mr. Fence in Florida, became apparent that we really need repeatable, measurable methods and processes for everything in the business. And the more I talk to people, I see they're living the same struggle that I lived in 2001 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Sure.
And I'm like, why are you doing that? Because you're going through the same process that I went through, Joe went through, Mark went through. We all went through it. And if we can shorten the learning curve,
yes.
What's the value of that? You still have to go and learn yourself, but we can shorten it.
Right. Yeah. It's like driving a car. You still got to drive your own car, but maybe we can tell you where the potholes are so that you can try to avoid them.
Give you a map and maybe some big monster truck tires so you can miss a couple of potholes and drive right over them. That's the reality of it. It's like, go through the wilderness. I'm going to give you some armor, a sword, and a map, and you guys still go fight the battle. But here's some tools, right? You're not going to go through it naked and get.
Sure.
But so the academy is the concept now. Where we are is we are working on putting as much content into a website that somebody could pay into, and then also there's. Right now, I think there's 47 modules. Each module's got 3 or 4 content, and it's everything from, how to talk to a customer, how to bid a project, how to price a project, how to pack a truck, so everything's in there from start to finish, right? Some things have more detail than others, and that's kind of the one concept is you go through it at your own pace. Like once we get it finished, you pay a flat fee. It's yours for life. As we update content, you get that content, and that's it. But that's just the what I'm finding. It's not done. But I'm finding that people need someone to decipher that for them.
Sure.
So if I just give you the data and say, here, you set, go, you're like, well, what does that mean? And how does that work in my business?
Yep.
I'm on the East Coast. I'm on the South. I'm in the North. I got 4 foot of frost. I mean.
Yeah, right.
So how do we make that? The AFA's done a great job with training. The AFA University gives a great baseline. Yeah. And they have the defense contractor school. They've got a lot of great content already. And some of that can be taken from the AFA. So I got to make sure I fill in the gaps, more of the specialized piece. Paperwork. And at the end of the day, it really is just how we do it, right? It doesn't mean it's right. Well, it doesn't mean it's the best way for you. It's just
that's right. That's right. And that's what I said in the intro that we used to have on these videos. It was basically me just saying, hey, this is the way I've learned over the last 3 generations on how to build fence. It's not the only way to build fence. It might not be the most perfect way of building fence, but it's my way, and it works for us. Your way could absolutely be different.
And so we got to take that in mind, but I also got to make sure that I don't water it down too much. And I think that's what happens sometimes with some of the training is that to make everybody happy, to make the commercial guy, the residential guy, and the East Coast guy, and the West Coast guy, and the guy in Hawaii, and the guy in Florida happy, you end up dumbing down the training so much that sometimes you lose that extra bit of value, right? So there's a core base, and then I'm trying to fill it like the next level. It's not Mr. Fence University, it's Mr. Fence Academy. It's more specialized, right?
Sure.
And so there's that piece. That was the idea, and that has moved into more one-on-one type coaching with the academy. So more of a weekly touch and base Zoom meetings, 2-3 hours, talking about what's going on in your world and what you need to work on at one time. Let's face it, even if I give you a roadmap, you can't absorb all that in what time period, like a year, like by the time you get through it, and you can't do everything overnight.
Sure.
So
you also offer coaching. Is that what I heard?
Yeah. So we're currently coaching, and again, we're learning as we go.
Right.
But we've got about a half a dozen companies that we're coaching with, and that is actually went from just me getting on a live video with a Zoom meeting was the original concept.
Sure.
Where are you at? Where you need to go? Here's some advice. And I'm like the guy that you call and ask a question to, but I don't own your company. Like I'm gonna give you advice. Do what you want.
Yeah. A consultant. Yeah.
Consultant. But that has moved on even further as we've done this. People are like, they want to move faster. Like I want to get more now. And so I have a business coach. I don't know if you know that, but I've had a business coach for about 6-7 years now.
Yeah.
And now my business coach is coming on board. So now I've got a team, business coach, my HR, my AP, my accounts receivable. They're all coming on board. So now we have, when I walked down the hallway, like I just a little bit ago, one of my team members was coaching another team member of another guy that I coach. And this morning, my coach was coaching a business owner and somewhere else, right? He made him a spreadsheet and sent it to him. So it's kind of going like this, and we're getting more people involved to try to get better value to it.
See, that's interesting to me. So I've had a business coach in the past, and he helped me out tremendously. I don't want to diminish this at all, but you get to a certain point where you almost need someone with your experience or with your industry experience, right?
So let's talk about it. So before I took over the company in 2000, my stepdad hired a consultant to come into the company. So I've seen a consultant come in that has zero fence experience. Like, he didn't build fence. He was a business consultant. He spent over, I think, probably close to 2 weeks. And what this guy did is it was valuable, but he dissected our company. He put flow charts together and job descriptions together and procedures in place and all this stuff. And we valued from it, but it was like, for 2 weeks, it was like $25,000, right? Ooh. 2 weeks, and there's no fence. He's not telling me how to dig a hole faster or build a fence. And it was just, now there is a great value to that, but that's not. I think, like you said, there's more value to somebody that's living and breathing the same fight. Like I'm trying to run a fence business myself, like day to day, like literally learning lessons every day. Yeah, we get to capitalize on that. Now, my business coach, I was very reluctant to hire my business coach. Let me give you this. I had a good friend of mine in town that was very successful with a different industry. Yep. And he kept telling me, Sean, you've got to hire this guy. And I said, why would I hire a business coach? I already know what I need to do. Like, I've got it figured out. Again, naive, egotistical, I get it. Like, it's hard. I got to figure out I don't need that. And said, besides that, what is he going to give me or tell me? He's not in the fence business. Yeah. What is he going to tell me? And he kept hounding me. And finally, my banker tricked me one day to lunch. And she's introduced me to the same guy. And I'm like, what is the deal? I know who this guy is. Like, how many times? She says, Sean, just listen to me for a minute. She goes, I know your books. I know your numbers. I know where you're at. You're motivated. You got to get someone to rein you in. What do you mean rein me in? She goes, you're everywhere. You're all over the place. And nobody has control over you. I'm like, well, he's not going to control me. Right. But the reality is what happened, Joe, is accountability. Yeah. Every coach, every week I'm paying this guy, I think it was like $1,500 a month. And I'm going to meet with him for 4 hours on Wednesday. Now, I'm a confident young man. I'm not going to show up to the meeting unprepared. Right. So what do? I looked at my numbers. I made my reports. I did my due diligence. I came to the meeting. I wanted to look like I was smart. And he's just sitting there laughing, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm doing what I knew I had to do that I wouldn't have done if nobody was watching me.
That's right.
And then I watched our business go like this.
Yeah, right.
We were struggling at 1.1, 1.2, and all of a sudden we're just screaming.
I'll tell you what my coach did for me is he helped me focus. Because you saying you're everywhere at once, like, that's my life. And I think that's a lot. I think that's a lot of folks. I'm still you need blinders. Yeah. Right. To say, and that was basically the conversation is what is your one nail that you need to drive home this week to better your business? Yeah. Don't bring your top 3. Don't bring your top 4. What is the one thing? That thing is the thing you need to go do right now to better your business.
And a lot of successful people will tell you that's how they become successful, is focusing on what's the most important piece and not all this other stuff, because we can't be great at everything. We can be really good at something and put it out. Me and Josh Glover like to give it our 100. All right. So you don't want my 100. When I give something my 100%, I'm going to destroy that project, that whatever's in front of me. You just got to point me to that 100. You know what I mean? Yep. Done. Okay, next. But if we try to spread that out and do everything at the same time, we end up just diluting everything and nothing gets done.
Well, that's it. Everything ends up half done. Yeah. Right. You don't end up with anything that's ever actually accomplished. And that probably leads to the feeling that that you're not accomplishing anything. You look around and you're kind of like, man, I'm just not good at this. I just can't seem to get anything done.
And then what does that do? That starts to demotivate you. So you're just going to get demotivated by natural, and then you'll get less done, and then it's going to happen again. So it's this vicious cycle that you have to try to fight. Yep. Little wins mean a lot. So if you just start winning, like pick a project, get it done. Oh, yes. It's like a goal list,
Well, and part of it is reverse engineering what you need to get done too. Right.
Start with end in mind.
Bingo. That's it. Is what's the one thing you need to get done this year? Like, what is the big thing? If I do this thing, it will make an amazing difference. Okay. How do we get there? Like, now we know where we're going. We know we need to get to that point.
Right.
How do we get there? Okay. Well, we need to draw a map. Bingo. Okay. Now, once we draw, it's reverse engineering it to where all right, my one thing today is this. Now, if I get 5 one things done, the one thing I need to get done this week, they all lead to that one thing I need to get done this week. And the one thing I need to get done this month. And then next thing you know, you're closing out the end of the year going, wow, it's climbing the mountain.
It is. Climbing the mountain can be scary sometimes because when you climb it and you look up, you still see the top of the peak way up there. You don't know how far you've climbed.
Sure.
I see this all the time where you just pound it out and grind. You get halfway up the mountain, you look back, you looks like you're coming a long ways. But when you look up, the peak still looks the same distance away.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, what just happened? I've been grinding, and you can see behind me what I've done. And I look up and I think, oh my God, the peak just keeps going. Like when you drive in the crest of a hill, it just keeps going.
Yep.
It can become tough. And you need somebody in your corner to say, you're doing excellent.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Someone just climbed the mountain. Said, hey, I know how far that looks. I get it. But we're headed the right way. Like, you're actually ahead of pace to get to the top of that mountain. You just got to keep going. So
there's a lot of value in having confidence, right? So if you are confident that you're making good headway, you don't lose the steam. But if you start second guessing, like, am I doing this right? Am I wasting my time? Well, they're going to start wasting time and going backwards. That's what happens. And some of the guys I've talked to, literally that's what they tell me is the confidence of knowing that you're there and that I'm doing the right thing right now. That's all I need. Like, I'll keep pounding it out. But I was starting to question myself last year and this year, and I'm starting like, man, am I ever going to get anywhere? Like, you're doing everything right. Just keep cranking, or you're not doing it. Stop.
Well, right. Well, and that's the importance of knowing where you're going, of having, that proverbial roadmap, is so that all right, this year took a bit of a detour, but we're still headed that direction. Here's how we get back onto the road, back on the highway, and we head back towards, that end that we want to get to.
Google Maps, redirect.
Yep. Because 2020 is a pretty perfect example of not everything's going to go as planned.
Right. Not even close. If you think you have it planned out, that's funny. It's a whole other subject. Our journeys are already planned for us. We're just along for the ride. You get to pick where you want to sit on the train. That's all.
Yep.
In the booth or the front or at your seat, look out the window. But
sure,
that's either here or there. But the reality of it is that we don't control that. But we do absolutely control, and I try to drive this home all the time, how we react to what's happening around us. You have a choice. You can positively or negatively react. That's it. It's your only 2 choices. Pick one.
That's right. Well, absolutely. And that's a whole conversation of just, mind over matter too, right? Listen, if you wake up in the morning thinking it's going to be a bad day, it's probably going to be a bad day. You're only going to see the bad stuff. You're not.
Well, what happens is sometimes they wake up and they're in the most positive mood and they still have a bad day. And they're like, well, that's not right. I should have had a good day. No, guess what? It's not always going to work that way. Yeah, sometimes you're still going to have a bad day. But I promise you, if you wake up in a bad mood, you're always going to have a bad day.
Yeah, it doesn't get better.
If you start negative, you're going to finish negative.
Yep.
But people get distracted and they're like, well, I was positive and then this happened and now I'm negative. So what's the point? Yep. Well, because it's not always going to be that way, but it will always be negative if you start negative.
Well, and that's the mentality behind, a lot of coaches or a lot of, life coaches will say, first thing you need to do in the morning is write down 3 positive things that are going to happen that day. And it could be anything. And what they're trying to do, and it worked, what they're trying to do is get you to look for positive things in your day. Because if you're looking for it, you'll generally see it. But if you're not looking for it, it'll pass you by. And that's a whole positive and negative mentality waking up in the morning. If you say, this is going to be a horrible day, it's going to drag on forever, and all these bad things are going to be happening, all you're going to be doing all day is looking around. What other bad thing is right around the corner?
Do you hear all that right now?
Yeah. Let's talk about that, Sean.
Well,
what is going on at Mr. Finch right now?
I'm in somebody else's office because I don't have an office space. So I'm in the production coordinator's office currently because I don't have an office because we've been growing. And those of you guys are listening, I'm apologizing if there's a bunch of banging going on. I've asked them not to bang so loud, but I'm right up here. Oh, now they're grinding. They're building my office out with a studio in it for a while, so I can do these YouTube videos just like you have.
Yeah.
With better acoustics and stuff like that. But they're literally building an office up here with the Misfits Academy studio being built at the same time.
That's exciting.
That's what all that is up there. So sorry.
No. I mean, production is always good. Production is always good moving forward.
Trust me, I thought about telling them to stop, but I'm like, I need my office. Bad. This went from a 2-week project to now we're sitting on maybe 5 right now, and I'm probably looking at another 2. Like it is literally gone. But it's going to be nice. I mean, we've got now. There's a fireplace up there right now. I just went and picked out a live edge piece of maple that's going to be 8 foot long by 30 inches wide with some. That's going to be the bar top that we're going to have bar stools at a Vince conversation at, and we've got the booth going in, soundproofing going in, 2 sets of desks. I mean, it's just really has gone from a little office to let's get out of control. It's my own fault.
Well, and that's once you get into any project, I'm guilty of that as well. When you're in the middle of it, you're like, ooh. You know what? Let's tweak it a little bit because I'm really going to want this one thing, and then it adds to the timeline. But when you're done, it's exactly how you want it.
I think it's going to be pretty awesome. But right now, I'm like, what have I done? The amount of money I'm spending on this office.
Yeah.
And I can't. Yeah. It's part of the building, so I can't write that off. That's what I've been talking about. Is like, was it permanently attached? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
sure enough, it is.
It's only screwed. Like I can unscrew it. It's like, it doesn't count.
Are screws really permanent? No, not really.
Just kidding.
Right. We just bought a new building that we're kind of expanding over into, and it's a little bit disheartening to see the weekly. I look at weekly P&Ls and like, oh man, like I know where we're going. Like I know we're going to a good place. But it's a rough weekly P&L. We look at it on Friday and
bleeding money right now. It's just like,
well, and here's where this might be where your mind was too. My mind was like, listen, it's going to be in the wintertime, so it's typically slower for us. We've got guys that need stuff to do, and the other side of my mind didn't kick in and say, well, yeah, but Joe, winter's also the lowest cash flow period for the year, so you might think about that, but
too late.
But if it's in the summer, it wouldn't get done.
Absolutely. And that's what I tell myself. I'm committed. We're going all in. I'm going to get it done. I do have manpower available. I've had 2 crews literally this whole time working on it. So it's fine. We'll get through it. I'll survive. I'll be here next year.
That's right. Bigger and better.
More out and broke, but I'll be here.
What I love about it, so you took me on a quick tour before this live started. What I love about it, as it sits right now, is you are the king of color branding. Right, the flames in the fireplace, blue.
Are blue.
The recording sign, bright blue.
You do the same thing. Everything you can make it orange, you'd make it orange, right?
I know, but this is true. That's a joke around the office. Is like if anybody wants to sell something, they just make it in orange and bring it by the office. I'm like, yeah, okay.
And you'll buy it. So the live edge countertop I went and picked out today. This beautiful piece. There's some dark crevices in it. They're putting neon blue epoxy in all those cracks and then epoxy on top of it. I came back and told the office and they said, we should cut you because I want to see if you actually do bleed blue.
Just to see.
I might. I don't know.
There's a pretty good chance. Oh,
jeez.
Well, let's do this. Let's say hey to some folks again. Get kind of caught up on the comments. What is up, Jonathan Bodal from Ocala, Florida. I tried to put too many letters in there. Ocala, Florida. Jackson Fence, Cannon's out there measuring yards. What's your favorite instrument to measure in person? Not a fan of my current measuring wheel. That's a good question.
Well, I just bought one last week, and I don't even know what brand it is because anymore I don't care.
Yeah.
I used to buy a Digiroller, which was like $200-something each. And again, back in the day when I was on top of the world, I needed to have the digital readout, and it would add up all the different lines. And anymore, I just need a clicker.
Yep.
And the reality of it is we sell everything by section, not by foot. So we don't even care down to the 6 inch or 1 foot. I just need to know the 8 foot increments. You could literally step it off and say, yep, that's 8 sections and that's going to be 9. So a lot of it I measure with our phone, a map measure program on the phone. I can even stand in the yard and measure it. But if you were to ask that, my answer is going to be I get on Amazon and buy one for $50-$60.
Bingo.
And make sure it's got like a 12-inch diameter. This is the bad. I've seen guys buy the 3-inch wheels.
Yeah.
And that's not going to work in a yard with uneven terrain. It's just not.
No, those are more for if you have a solid surface. My mind goes like a warehouse. If you're trying to wheel off a warehouse, that might work. What we found is listen, kind of like yourself. I've bought the really expensive ones and I've bought the really cheap ones, and we found out they all last roughly a year. I mean, pretty much. Yeah. Every December, I buy more wheels for the year, and we just throw away our old wheels. And every couple of months, we've got an area that's exactly 50 feet. So we measure it off just to make sure everything's tracking right. But we do the same thing, Sean. Go on Amazon, and whatever 12-inch wheel is roughly about $50. That's the one that's coming home with us.
Right. Yep. Convenience.
And online on Amazon they are like $50-$60. The ones in Lowe's, we used to buy those until I figured out they're roughly the same thing, but the ones at Lowe's are $100 or something, $89.99 or whatever.
We live off of Amazon. I don't have time to go to a hardware store or anywhere.
So here's an Amazon tip for everybody. We use smile.amazon.com because it lets us pick out a charity.
Yep.
That then it's the same price. I was skeptical of this because they always say it's the same price. Like, is it though? So I did like incognito window with regular Amazon and then my Smile and just like comparing. Sure enough, same prices. But a portion of that goes to a charity that I choose. So why not? Right.
We do the same thing. We donate to a local charity with the same thing.
Yeah. Smile.amazon, guys. All right. So Stephen Albert, getting back to his conversation, had a Western red cedar fence with aluminum nails that, as far as I know, is still there. But after 25 years or so, the boards occasionally blew off. It's going to happen. But it's a good thing it's still standing. Ashley Roth. Hello, Joe and Sean. What is up, Ashley?
Hey, Ashley.
Ashley, listen, if we're all being honest here and Caleb's not listening, Ashley is the driving force behind Stainless Steel Experts.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, as long as, I wouldn't want to hurt Caleb's feelings, but I think we all know what's really going on over there.
He includes Caleb to keep him happy.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Caleb's here.
Oh, hey, Caleb.
And he says it's true.
Hey, how's it going? An old timer in the machine shop industry said if you're hiring a consultant, it's already too late, and you're 100% accountable of your affairs and doing great if you have reliable help.
So absolutely, you're doing great if you hire reliable help, but I think it's not just hiring reliable help. This isn't like a reliable or not reliable. It's a relationship with your team members. It's a culture. Yeah. So I think oftentimes we say we got a bad apple, when the reality is we might be the bad apple that's causing all the other bad apples out there. And I've had to learn this the hard way. I'm telling you, I'm guilty of it. I'm saying there's no good help out there.
Yeah.
You can't hire anybody good. And the reality of it is, how are we treating them? What are we offering them? How are we taking care of them? What would you do if you were in their shoes? How would you like it? Look at it from their perspective, show a little bit of empathy, game changer.
Bingo.
I don't know if I agree about it's always too late if you ask for a consultant. That's not necessarily true. I've got one guy that I'm consulting with, Joe, that he has never owned a fence company. We started it together, and he's in the fence industry out the gate with me on day one. So there's no way. It was like he literally he was searching fence on the internet, knew he wanted to start a fence business.
Yeah.
Didn't have a fence business. Found me, messaged me, and said, all right, if I would start from scratch with your help, what would we do? All right, game on. Here's where we're going to go. And so
nice.
He's like 3 months into it right now.
So he just has his foundation of success already built. Instead of trying to remodel an existing house, he's building a brand new house with a good foundation.
But you are 100% accountable for your affairs. Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't know what you're doing, ask.
Here's my thoughts on hiring a consultant. I mean, like I said, I've had a business coach in the past until recently, and the reason I hired him was I don't know what I don't know. Right.
Until you don't know what you didn't know. That's what I tell people all the time. You don't know what you don't know until you know what you didn't know, and now you know what you didn't know. Like, what did you just say?
It sounds right. It definitely sounds right. But no, that's the thing, is that you don't know until someone says, "Hey, what did you think? What do you do in this scenario?" You're like, "Well, I don't know. I just do this, and here's why."
Yeah.
Oh, because that's how we do it. That's how it's always been done. Ah, well, maybe there's a better way.
Yeah. Maybe.
You know.
Or no.
So Steve and I will do this. We'll agree to disagree, because I think hiring a consultant is healthy, and current time, like, people use different phrases for this, right? Business coach is the current one. What used to be a consultant is now a business coach. I think it's a smart investment. Even if the business is healthy and thriving, it's always good to get a different perspective in your business.
I've heard some war stories, even recently, of some coaching or consulting, probably in the past years. I've heard about it. Just scratch my head, the amount of money people have paid to be responsible with it. Yeah. I wouldn't go and spend a ton of money on something that's not tested yet. Like, there's a relationship there.
Well,
it's going to work.
And you got to do your due diligence.
Yeah.
Right. You can't just blindly jump into, a relationship with someone like that. But because here's the thing is now more than ever, there's a business coach for everything. Like, there's a lot of business coaches out there.
There's a YouTube channel for everything.
Well, living proof.
There's a ton. I've been watching all kinds of educational YouTube channels. There's a ton of valuable content. That's consulting, basically.
It is. It absolutely is. So that's my thing. So right now, like I said, I got this new baby girl, and I'm on the overnight shift. There's only so much Netflix you can watch. So lately, I've been living on YouTube, and it's consuming educational content about things that are relevant to me. And not necessarily specifically fence companies, right? But it's guys with a construction company, and there's another guy that is an excavator, and you can find snippets from these,
yes,
right, that apply to your scenario.
100%.
Tom Sloan, hey Joe, do you offer service out of state? We don't. We like to stay in Southwest Missouri, and not only do we not go out of state, we typically stay about 30 miles from Springfield, Missouri. As a kid, my dad liked over the road work. And he liked it because he didn't go over the road.
Right.
He liked it because he sent us over the road. So, no, I spent a summer up in Fort Leonard Wood. We were installing, mostly was new install chain link fence at on-base housing. We redid a few of them. And that was a polarizing moment in my mind, because one night I'm sitting in this, random motel, and I haven't seen my friends in a while. I haven't seen my family in a while. And I said, this stinks. I am not doing this.
Right.
And so, and it kind of goes back to your point earlier. You put yourself in your team member's shoes, right? And exactly. If I don't want to go do it, why am I going to ask someone else to go do it, right?
Well, you at least got to have that conversation. Maybe they do like that. Maybe they're happy with that. I don't know, but you at least got to consider their perspective, right?
That's true.
I'm not happy with it, but there are some guys that love to live out of a motel and travel and see the country, and they don't have a family.
Well, you know what? Yeah, you're right.
It might work for them.
Yeah.
But oftentimes we just assume that they're going to go do that and be just happy with it. We haven't really asked.
Well, and that's the thing is, and I've been guilty of just assuming what people feel and think and all that. Because I'm like, oh, this is what I think and feel, so this is probably what everyone does. Maybe not. Jaron Crocker, hello, I have a question. Father-in-law and I recently built a cedar fence. However, we used galvanized nails. Something we learned later would lead to rust streaks after only 1 month.
So it did or didn't, I wonder, because not always does that happen.
Something we learned later would lead. I mean, it sounds like maybe he does. It's going to depend on the nail. So in my business, we're residential, we're probably 90% wood. We build a lot of wood, and we use hot dip galvanized nails. We use hot dip galvanized ring shank nails. We offer stainless steel. The thing is, stainless steel nails are about 4 or 5 times the cost. So whereas it's $100 a box for galvanized, it's $400 to $500 a box for stainless. We rarely do that just because the customer doesn't really see the benefit. When you see streaks, typically the reason that is the nail isn't seated into the board, right? So the head of the nail is too close to the face of the board. So it lets that, what you're seeing in the streak is a chemical reaction with the galvanized and whatever. Usually you see it in treated boards more than anything, because it's a chemical reaction between a treatment and whatever's coating on the nail. We don't see streaking issues, and we use hot dip galvanized nails. So it might depend on what type of how much galvanized, because there's not really a standard, right, of how much galvanized is used on a nail.
So I thought, and so my understanding with some of that was, a hot dip galvanized nail. There's some other galvanizing treatment out there that's not as good. And so when you put it in there, it strips some of that off, and you have a bare nail that's actually starting to rust, come down.
Yeah, I can see that.
Lower grade, but I'm not a technical guru without any means. We use a galvanized nail ourselves, and we don't have any streaking at all. But I do know, I've seen it. I've seen it locally.
Yeah.
And I've also seen the aluminum react with the pressure treatment. That was a big deal for a long time until we fixed that issue. But so I don't know if he seals the fence sooner than later before the streaking starts, I would imagine that would prevent the streaking as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Jaron. Is it Jaron or Jaron? I don't know.
Jaron.
Yeah, Jaron. Fencing is hard work. We know it. What are some of the things each of you do to offer value to your team to encourage them to want to work for you? Incredible question.
Wow. So I think it starts with create a team mentality. Like it's not a popsicle you give them or a dollar bill you give them, or it's really acknowledgement, credit goes a long ways. And the culture of acting like and living like a team is going to probably be your number one thing you can do. We talk about it. I'm a big believer in team members. You'll hear me I try not to use the word employee at all.
Yeah.
Team member, right? But to encourage them to want to work for you, it's work with you. Change your mindset. It's more like work with you and not for you.
Yep.
That team member is going to work with you, not for you, right? So it starts with that mentality first.
Yeah. In talking about that, so one thing I talk with our team about is, so the typical thought is it's a pyramid, right? The boss sits up on the top and then everyone kind of fits in somewhere below. In my mind, we invert that, right? It looks more like a ice cream cone than it does a pyramid, because everything flows down to me.
Yep.
Right. And I am there to support all the rest of the team members. And it's what can I do for you? Right. If I'm talking to my team, what do you need help with? If we're doing assessments, here's your assessment, here's some things that we think you can work on. How can I help you work on that? Right. Because you got to think is, to your point, you're sending these guys out to the wilderness. So if they come back lost, is that their fault for getting lost, or is that your fault for not telling them where to go?
It's 100% our fault. That's what we got to give them the map, right? Yeah, and then go back to training as well. I'm a big believer in training. You send these guys out, you're like, well, I showed you how to do that. Well, you know what? I was in law enforcement for 10 years. Guess how many times we practiced on how to shoot a gun?
Yeah,
I learned how to shoot them in the academy, and they didn't say, okay, go. We continuously went through it, right? Because and I was proficient in the academy. I was a top shot.
Sure.
So why do I have to do it over and over and over and over and over and over for 10 years? Yeah. It's training. So the same thing happens in our world. We want to talk about and live and say that we want the fence professionals to be professional and recognized as professionals like HVAC and electricians and plumbers. But we're the first guys to tell them to go out there and build fence with little to no instruction. We are the ones doing that. And you wonder why it's all screwed up. And you wonder why they're defeated. And they come back and they're like, well, I did the best I could. And you're like, well, it wasn't good enough, you idiot.
Yeah, right. Well, obviously you weren't listening when we talked about this.
The first time. But it's like you have to do it over and over and over.
Yeah, there's two ways to look at this, right? So it's, well, you weren't listening when I talked about that. Okay, well, then maybe you didn't say it in a way that they understood, right? Something didn't click.
There it is.
And so we lost a team member earlier this week. They took a different job in a different industry. I take that personally, right? How did we go wrong that this team member even thought about looking somewhere else? Now, we didn't get a chance to do an exit interview with him. He was gone pretty quickly, but like those are the things I want to know. Like, where did I go wrong that you even thought about it? Now, there could have been extenuating circumstances, right?
You might have liked orange.
What's that?
You might not have liked orange.
Well, yeah, that's a non-starter.
I'm just kidding.
Interview question number 1.
Do you like orange?
How do you feel about wearing orange at all times? You know,
But I believe that we like to talk about a team member and about culture, but there's a relationship back and forth, and you need to work with your team and figure out how they learn, and maybe they're going to learn slower than somebody else. One of my big goals this year in my company that I announced to the team was I'm going to work on my empathy with my team. One of the weakest pieces I have is I look at everything they're doing from my perspective, from my eyes, from my experience, from my background. And I'm like, how could you possibly think that was going to be okay?
Right.
When really I should stop and say, okay, from over here, so their life experience tells them this. It's no different than I think this is blue because I was taught growing up this is blue.
Right.
But maybe this is really red. I don't know. I can compare it to what I was told before. And it's the same thing, simplified. If they were told this was okay before and I'm telling them no, they're like, what? That was, I'm a little confused.
Right. Well, and I think we're all guilty too, Sean, of, and this gets back to, I like how you're documenting everything. It gets back to, I know what my experiences are, and a lot, if I'm training a new team member to take over one of my tasks, I'm not the greatest at explaining every nuance of that task. It's just, why did this is, because that gets us to where we're going. I know where we're going and all that. And we need to be better.
Really explain it to one of my team members and look at the glazed look in their eye and remember back when I was in math class with Mr. Bates in 6th grade learning algebra going, what are you talking about? And for him, it's simple.
Yeah,
and
right.
In the same way, I'm trying to talk to them about racking this panel and cut this piece, and don't forget you got to cut that tip off because that's going to be in the way. And they're lost at step one. So we are documenting the processes of everything to try to make it better, and then to improve our training. Because it used to be we would train rain days and 2 or 3 times a year, and I'd come out and do training. We're actually creating videos and written content and iPads for the truck. So all the time that they're driving a job site, they're not going to listen to their iPad or their iPhone or their music or iTunes.
Yeah.
It's going to be listening to how to dig a hole, how to set a pose, how to do spacing, how to do this, and there's tests involved. And then we're going to do it again. Like this week's rotation is X, and we're going to come back to that in 2 months. And once they hear it over and over and over and over and over, pretty soon they're going to be teaching it. And that's when somebody really learns something, Joe, is when you have them teach it.
Yes.
And I learned that back in the academy. I became a field training officer. So as I started teaching the content, I really started to understand the content. So we're making our foremen reteach the classes to everybody else. Like rather than me give the class, like the foreman give the class.
Yeah.
He's reteaching it.
I like that. Teach back is a huge concept. And so they use it a lot in the medical community. So you watch one, you do one, you teach one to show proficiency.
Yep.
Because when you're teaching it, you're using your brain in a different way to accomplish the same task.
100%.
Right? And you're getting feedback from someone else from a different perspective about that task.
Yep.
So teach back is huge. I like it a lot. One thing I'll add, if we're talking about encouragement, one thing we're finding out is everyone is encouraged in a different way. Right. So we have some team members that are, they like to be financially motivated, and that's fine. We can figure that out. But there's some members that aren't financially motivated. I mean, don't get me wrong; they're not working for free, but an extra performance bonus at the end of the week doesn't really mean much. But a pat on the back and an attaboy in front of everybody means the world to them.
All right, so I'll give them this tip. We'll leave this with this.
Yeah.
You want encouragement? Here's a simple tip. There's an app called Crew, C-R-E-W, Crew app. It's free. Well, no, it's not free no more. I think they started charging. It used to be free, but it doesn't cost much money. All right. Implement that app for communication across your company. So everyone's in it. It's like group text type of thing, but it's a little bit more police. And here's what you do. You give away gold stars. Literally gold stars. It's that simple. Back in grade school, you do everything you could to get that gold star from that teacher. They would put them on the board, and you get the chore list when you grew up. You wanted the gold star. You give them a gold star for going outside, above and beyond their expected performances, not doing their job. I'm not a big participation trophy. Sorry, not here. But outside. But it may only be as good as like their best might only be half as good as somebody else, but they're going to get a gold star because they exceeded their best, right?
Sure.
Helping the team, creating culture, getting above and beyond, getting a consumer to rave about it. They get a gold star. When they get it, everybody in the company sees on their phone, boom, this big gold star pops up on your phone that says, Joe Everest just got a gold star for blah, 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 blah. Done. And then we have monetized them, just like you said. Some people want the acknowledgement, and some people are motivated by money, right?
Yes.
So each gold star is worth $15. They have a bank account that they can use that to purchase work boots or glasses or work gear or anything that we can expense through the company. That's their bank that we can expense through. So they get there building up this money, they save it up. So I want to spend my gold star money on X.
Yeah.
What's really cool, now that's all cool, but this gives me chills when this happens. You'll see team members literally give their own gold star to another team member that went above and beyond for the day. And they're like, you know what? So-and-so bailed us out today. I want to give him one of my gold stars that cost him. Damn, when you see that, when I see that driving on the road, I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, this is the culture we're talking about. This is what we need to build. Little tip, crew, it's money.
Yeah, guys, while Sean's talking, I'm literally opening up the notes and I'm putting that in my notes because that's happening.
Yeah.
So what's funny, so Sean and I were chatting before the live and he gave me these 2 golden nuggets and I'm like, well, I don't even know if we're going to do the live now because I feel like I have to rush right back to the office and implement these things right now. We're getting a lot of value here, Sean, and I really, really do appreciate that.
I love that next comment. I think it's next.
Yeah, it is. I am. It actually tastes good. Maybe my body is now only accepting orange things. I don't know. I might have reached that achievement. But yeah, we're big orange fans. Tom, so I think this was the follow-up question. He's in Oklahoma. So no, we don't work. So Oklahoma border from us is about an hour away, hour and a half away. We get this question also about Arkansas because we're about an hour away from Arkansas. We're licensed to work in the state of Missouri. We're not licensed to work in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Could we sneak in Oklahoma and Arkansas to get something done? Probably, but that's not what we're about, right? So we stick to Missouri. We stick to Southwest Missouri specifically. Ashley says it's 100% a team effort here, but I appreciate you both having so much faith in me. Well, even if it's 100%, team driven, you still need someone at the front, right?
Well, 100%, you still get a 99 one person and 1% the other person is still 100%.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. She didn't say what ratio of that 100%. That I see where you're doing here, Ashley. No. So, when we're talking about team though, so I visited Caleb's operation there at their last Stadium University, which we still need to get into that.
Yeah, we do. Watch the time.
They live this, right? Is their team members are family. I mean, that's not by blood, but by profession. Like they are stainless steel experts, family. And that was one thing that was one of my huge takeaways from there is just how much, Caleb and Ashley treat everyone like family, like because they take the team members concept to the next level, they're all family. They've got some good stuff going on out there. John's trying to start a trend here. No streaking. I think that's when we were talking about nail streaking. We are 100% against streaking in all forms. Chris Steele says, our saying is you work with us, not for us. Atmosphere and culture is the biggest start. 100%. Yeah. 100%. That's we have that conversation. So we don't have foremen. We have crew chiefs. Right. And there's nothing saying like in our organization, there's nothing saying a crew can't have 2 chiefs. You can have co-crew chiefs. Absolutely possible.
Which we have. We do. We have to.
Perfect. Because there's no limiting factor. When you start limiting people into, your third man, your second man, your first man, and you can't be a second man. If you're a third man, you can't be a second man until the second man either leaves or advances. Yeah. You limit people. You pigeonhole them. And again, when you think back into, would I want to work in that scenario? No, not at all. I tell you, so during the 07, 08, the housing market, I took on a second job at a local home improvement store just because that's what I know. I worked in building materials and that's just what I knew. And that was so eye-opening to see how corporate culture works, because corporate, in this particular instance, the corporate culture was great at pigeonholing people, right? You are an associate level 3. You cannot be an associate level 2 until da, 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 da. And it was, I don't know how to explain it, but it did not feel great. So I came away from that with that kind of experience of, if you start limiting your team members, you're the only one being limited.
I want them all to have my job.
Yeah, right.
Come on. Yeah.
And that's kind of our philosophy too, is that the day you take on a new position, you should be training your replacement, because you cannot move on until you have a replacement for you. You know, you can't move on up or over.
And with that thought, real quick, there's something I want to talk about real quick. So here's something I find that we commonly do to our team members. We promote to a management or some sort of a supervising position from down below. We promote within, which is great. But here's what happens. I feel all the time. We don't train that team member on how to manage people or a supervisor. We assume that when they move up to that next level, they may know how to build the best fence in the world, and they were great as a foreman and ran a wonderful truck. But all of a sudden, when you move to this next level, they're falling apart, right? It starts breaking. It breaks in the middle. Everything breaks in the middle. So we got up top and the bottom. And whenever we commonly find things are breaking in the middle, and that's the management piece. And because do we send people to management training? Do we send them to supervisor school? No, we don't. We just assume that they know how to communicate to people. Yeah. I've had to learn all of this the hard way, and it took me a long time. And we assume that we put somebody in a project supervisor role. Hey, you know what you're doing, right? Don't let those guys do this.
Yeah.
They don't even know how to communicate with them in that position. You're setting up for failure.
Well, yeah, that makes sense because their prior experience is from the other side of the coin, right? Is they're from, just that perspective. They've never seen anything from the other side of the coin.
And now they're stuck in the middle. They got to make you and I happy up here, bottom of the pyramid, and then the top of the pyramid is their team, and they're in the middle, and they're going to try to make them happy and us happy. Man, that's a tough spot to be in. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't forget to offer some training. Don't just build training around how to build fence.
Right.
Your team members that are managing people, and think about, okay, let's look at let's train on communication. How about empathy, right? I make all my team members read a book called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Write that down. That is money. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Take that book. It's paperback. It's easy peasy to read. Emotional Intelligence 2.0 will be a game changer in anybody that's in a leadership role in your company. $19 book. There's a little test for them to take in the beginning and at the end, and they're going to understand how to better communicate with people.
Not a quick typer, so I'm still putting that one in here. Emotional Intelligence 2.0.
Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Fantastic.
I got it. Are you guys, Sean, doing any sort of personality testing?
Yes. So a DISC test is what we typically use, right?
Yeah.
Off the chart D. I mean, most fence guys you find are going to be a high D. Yeah. I'm a ridiculous high D, and I've really got to work on myself, right? I don't really play well with others when you look at the map. Like, this guy's outrageous. Actually, funny story, I took an empathy test. There is one, believe it or not, in law enforcement. And the lady said she has never seen anybody with such lack of empathy than me, ever. And I'm like, that's not true. Okay, maybe. So we're working on that. Like, what do you mean? I don't even understand empathy. I don't even understand what you're talking about. There's a test for this, but So, but the DISC test, we take that, and when we hire somebody, maybe in a sales position, it's key, or a management position, to understand where they are and how they best work with somebody else. A couple of high Ds in your office, it's not going to work out very well.
Right. And that's what so we don't currently implement it, but that's one of the things that's on my list to implement in 2021, just so that we better understand, because it's about how people communicate too.
Yeah.
Right. So I might be, I like to talk about, very cut and dry facts and figures, and I love reports and spreadsheets, and these are all these things. But if I'm talking to someone who wants to talk on an emotional level, they're like, well, that's fine, but I don't really communicate in figures. I want to talk about feelings.
Yeah. So
Someone,
an S person on a disc is a person who wants to socialize, and they literally want to talk about how they feel.
Yeah.
They first want to talk about the weather outside and their cat at home first, right? The C is going to be like the accountant guy. That's just like all about you can't move anything on their desk. Like you're going to ruin their world if you move paperwork. Been there, done that, learned that lesson. But most fence guys that run a fence business are going to be a super high D.
Yeah.
And that means we're like, I like to use the word a no romance kind of guy. Like I don't care about all of that. Give me the facts. Give me the sheets. Give me the details. And that's not very productive.
Chit chat drives me crazy. It drives me up the wall.
Yeah.
But that's something I'm working on though, because it used to be like I would just call that out, right? I would be like, guys, this doesn't seem very productive. What are we doing? And, but to others, like that's their communication. And so, and you can't force someone into something they're not.
That's right.
Right. And to your point, if you have 2 high Ds in your office, watch out. That's not going to go well.
Right.
So disc profiles, guys. And there's Tony Robbins actually has a free one out there. But there's a lot of good disc profile, systems out there. I would highly encourage that.
Yeah.
Tony Thornton, required expectations to maintain accountability is of utmost importance for successful operation.
It's that simple. It's really that simple.
Yep.
One of the biggest things for our company this year is customer expectations. We're not setting them up properly, so we're failing to meet customer expectations, and that's where you get the disconnect and the problems for your customers.
Yes.
But the same thing happens with your team members. What are you expecting them to do? And do we really do a good job of explaining that? And then policing that, because we recently had a problem in-house where I'm like, well, that's against policy. Okay. Have you enforced it before? Has it been going on? And now, it's really bad. So now we're going to enforce it. That's not right. Right.
Yeah.
So what's expected has to be communicated.
Yep.
But then also continuously communicate. You can't just say, listen, from now on, everybody has to be on time. And then you let half of them show up late. And you're like, okay, that's it. I've had it.
Yeah.
You guys better be on time.
Yeah. This has been happening for the last 2 months and I am done with it.
Whose fault is that?
Right. Why has it been going on for 2 months?
The first time it happened, you should reset the expectations.
Yep.
But to Tony's point, like it's tiring. It's not easy. It's simple. But Tony's saying it's simple. Yes, it's that easy. Set expectations. Is it easy? It's not easy to implement because it requires you and I, the person that's a high D that doesn't even want to deal with that stuff.
Yeah.
To make sure that somebody else is making sure that got done. That is enforced. It's difficult when it comes to that.
100%. So, and I've heard it, you hear it put different ways, but you need an ideas guy and you need an implementator, because the ideas, and I say guy, the ideas person will not be your implementator. They will not. I try it, but it doesn't work very well because I've got different ideas and I'm on to the next thing.
I'm on to the next one. Yes.
Yeah. I am the king of, we should do that. So go ahead and do that. I've got this other thing I need to work on. Here's a saying I've heard talking about expectations. Frustration is the result of unmet expectations. And I am a firm believer in that. If you're having frustrations from customers, if you're having frustrations, it's because that person had an expectation that was not met. Now, whether that expectation is right or wrong, you didn't set the correct expectations. Right. And that's something you and I talked about before the live is, recording a what to expect video.
Which that's what we're doing today.
To set correct expectations.
Yeah.
If you tell the customer we're going to be out next week, well, their expectation might be Monday, but when you said that, you're thinking Wednesday. And both of those are correct. They are both next week. But now the customer has the expectation that you're going to be out there Monday. And when you don't show up, when your crew comes rolling in Wednesday, well, they're already frustrated because they thought you were going to be here Monday. And they've already called in the office twice, and they're already set up for frustration. And when you could have set the expectation correctly to say, Mr. Miss Customer, we're planning on being there Wednesday. Should something fall through, we could be there as early as Tuesday, but realistically, we're going to be there Wednesday. Just setting the expectation gets you away from that frustration. Jason Reed's got a question. How do you handle putting up a fence in new dirt, like around a newly installed pool?
Well, you got to worry about settling for sure.
Yep.
Because with the pools, they're not going to compact that. They're going to run a tractor over it a few times. So for me, if I see that, I need to go deeper. I need the post to be on virgin soil, so I worry about settling, right? So I need to go a little deeper, however deep it takes me to get the virgin soil.
That's right. Yeah, because that's exactly right. You're worried about settling, right? Because if you're using concrete, this is not the show to debate installation types, but the typical installation is with concrete. If you're using concrete, you're obviously now you've put this 80, 100, 120 pound object in the ground that's not compacted.
It's more weight.
It's going to do some compacting.
Yeah.
So then you get into a fence that looks like a roller coaster.
I think even if you're going to drive it, you still need to get to some virgin ground. So even no matter which method you prefer, I think you need to get the virgin ground.
I agree. Yeah, actually, I agree. Love the Gold Star method. And that's the Crew app.
Yep.
Yodeling Wanderer. I just love the name, first and foremost.
Yodeling.
So my only child's sister, work that one through your head. Your only child's sister is building a fence in her bedroom to keep the ants from entering. Well, I don't know where to go with this one. So we're just going to move on.
I'm just a fence guy. I'm lost.
Yeah. What? This is right. Absolutely.
What? Nice job.
Martin F. Baby, who's actually a returning guest to the show. Thank you. I'm doing a Postmaster post for my home, and I've come to an issue at the corners. I bought the Postmaster corner post, but my lot is irregular and not square. Because of this, I cannot use the corner post.
Well, isn't there some flexibility in that? That rail, when it intersects that corner post, can actually, 10, 15 degrees probably rotate on that face front of that flange?
Yeah. So, yes. Are they set up for a true 90? They are, but there's some wiggle room there. We use a Postmaster post almost exclusively. There for a while it was exclusively during the wood shortage, but we don't order the corner posts. We only order the line posts because of this, right? Because if we have an irregular lot, which, let's be honest, anymore, every developer is trying to squeeze out every square foot of developed space. So the lots are all irregular.
If you have a sharp corner, like a pie, what I would recommend you do is put in 2 line posts back a foot from the corner, cantilever the rails to the corner, and not just use 2 line posts and intersect them that way. And
Bingo. Absolutely. We have done the disc test here. Super eye-opening. Yeah.
It is.
It lets you, it's an insight into the language those people speak.
Wait until you take the test on Emotional Intelligence 2.0. If you want to see eye-opening, I put you this way. If you told me, Sean King, I'm going to pay you $10 million if you can write a description of who you are and how you communicate. If you get it right, you get $10 million. I would have failed. I would have given everything up. Because when I read it, I'm like, this is so accurate, but I could never explain it this well myself. And so it just gives you such an accurate picture that when you read it, you're like, oh my God. But if you were to try to write that same description about yourself right now without reading the book, you wouldn't get it. You'd miss it. You missed the mark. Eye-opening is right.
It's going on my Amazon list tonight. Martin says, my question is, how do you finish out corners that are not... Oh, okay. I think this is the same question.
Yeah, we got that one.
Yep. Mike says, you can learn a lot about dealing with other people when you understand disc personality profiles. Absolutely. Tadashi asks, how are T-posts different than postmasters? So I actually get this question more often than you'd think. So the way I describe it is postmaster, they resemble the old style signposts, right? The steel signposts you used to see everywhere. When you're looking from the top down, it looks like a top hat, right? You got 2 flanges and then a U. There's a video on our channel that specifically talks about why you should use steel post. And I talk about the Postmaster post specifically. There are other brands. There's Lifetime, etc. Posts out there, but it kind of shows an overhead shot of the post, a profile shot. Hard to explain. Sean, how would you describe those? The difference between?
Two totally different animals on different planets. They're made out of steel, and that's about the end of it, right? So a T-post, there's no flange on it. It's used for an entirely different style and type of fence, right? In the ag fence world, it's got notches on it for the wire, right? So it has a purpose for that. And whereas a Postmaster has got an entire flange, and it's not just the Postmaster. There's a few other brands out there, posts that have a surface for a 2x4, 2x6, some sort of wood material to attach to it. In a T-post, there's really, I don't even know of any way to attach a wood frame to that at all. I don't know how you would do it.
No, I mean, you have to use a bracket of some kind, but there's not a bracket specifically for T-post. Here's probably how I would best describe it. The Postmaster or Lifetime or whichever one of these brands of posts are purpose built for wood fence. They're specifically built for wood fence. That's about the best I can do with it. Rowdy Bowdy says the visionary and the integrator. Those are exactly the terms I was trying to think of when I was talking about the ideas person and the do it person. Yeah, the visionary and the integrator are both very, very important people. Where you can get into trouble, it maybe not trouble, but distraction is when you have two visionaries, because visionaries will just sit and talk with each other about all the stuff they should do, but you got to get an integrator in the room to say, oh, okay, here's what he wants or she wants.
Yep.
Now here's how we're going to do it.
You got to have a get it done person.
Yep, that's it. All right, so we're caught up on comments.
So we got to cover February. We got to cover advertisement, probably, right?
Yes.
You talked about that.
Yep.
And then Fence King. So where do you want to go?
Let's talk about the event. I mean, it's coming up in a month and a half. It's coming up pretty quick.
So with the lack of fence tech, there's like a big hole there. I'm emotionally going through stress that I don't have fence tech this year.
Agreed.
You're kidding me, right?
Agreed.
But I understand there's bigger powers to be, and that's why it's happening that way. And we're gonna, like I said all the time, you have a choice to make: be negative, positive. We're gonna use this as positive as possible. We're gonna have a positive outcome. So here's what we're gonna do. We are gonna have a private event that week, but on that Friday, Mr. Fence, my team, we're going to come on down. We're going to team up with Caleb Roth and the Stainless Steel University, the same event they did last year. And we are going to put on a 2-day event to possibly 2.5 days for free to anyone that wants to travel across the country and meet us in Nashville and hook up and talk about and breathe about and dream about and build fence, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a couple of the Chrome trucks, I believe, several of my team members. All of the guys are on Mr. Fence Academy retreat. We're all going to come in, and then we're going to build fence. So we're going to talk about like specifics on how we build fence. That's what this is going to be like. How does Mr. Fence build fence?
Sure.
So we're going to just show how we go through the whole process from laying it out to marking it, to digging holes, to installing posts, to compacting posts, to running rails, to balancing the heights, doing the ins and outs, to running pickets, using straightaway, all that for wood and vinyl. My goal is to get this done in 9 hours. And I have done this half a dozen times just like this. So I feel fairly confident I can get through it, but it's a lot of material coming at you real fast. I think Caleb and I decided that we were going to start with maybe 45 minutes to an hour worth of discussion inside or like in a route, maybe even outside in a circle type thing.
Sure.
Talking about like safety and loading, unloading trucks and why it's so important to drive safely to the job site and why it's so important to take care of your tools and equipment and team members and check in with each other and like really the important stuff, honestly. You can dig the hole 15 different ways, but at the end of the day, when we show up, we need to check in with our team members and make sure everybody's good for the day, right?
Yeah.
How do we get people, what process and procedures are used to get them out the door the fastest? We're going to kind of discuss that. How do you get the material to the job site? Like, the safest, reliable way, consistently. Like, what's the idea behind that? And then we'll show off some of the tools that we use because we're going to build it our way. So, there are certain tools that we make that you'll get to see firsthand and use. So, generally, there's the option for people to get their hands on and actually do a little bit of it. But Caleb's saying there might be 200 plus companies there.
Yeah.
If that's the case, there's only a few finite number of people that get their hands on the fence.
Right. Well, and that was, and I think he's probably right, Sean. So I was at Stainless Steel University 2020 and there were 100, 120 people there from all over the country. So I would expect this to be a couple hundred people. I really would.
So, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I'll be prepared. I actually have, believe it or not, giant outdoor speakers, and I mic up, and I've done this with over a large area. So I think I can be able to communicate it and let my team build the fence and talk about what they're doing and why they're doing it, even though it's hard for me to resist to get in there and dig the holes myself.
Yeah. Well, that's Sean. I think that's common. I mean, I think when you talk to fence guys, a lot of fence guys still wear the tool belt because they are most comfortable just doing it themselves. Right.
Which we need to get out of the driver's seat. You're gonna get me started on that whole tangent, but
I know.
The guys that are wearing a tool belt that want to have an owner-operator business, that's fantastic, and just rock on and keep doing that. And you're probably going to build some of the best fences in the United States because you're doing it. But there's a lot of people that don't want to do that. They want to grow a business, but they're still wearing a tool belt. And understand there's a difference between an owner-operator business, which is fantastic, and somebody that wants to run a multi-million-dollar company with 30 to 50 or 80 team members, right? Those are two totally different things. And what happens is we get everybody together sometimes and we talk about methods and procedures, and the guy's like, but I can do it better by myself. Right, you can.
Sure.
But you can build one fence and your team can together build 6, 7, 8. I don't, you know what I mean? So you can only do so much by yourself. And if that's what you want to do, then that's fantastic. But
sure. But you can have a greater impact if you scale to where you have multiple teams and you teach these teams your way. Right, you teach them this is exactly how I build a fence. These are the expectations of how a fence is to be built and how it looks at the end, etc. But if you had 3 of you, how much could you get done? You could probably get a lot more done if there's 3 of you.
But the thing you got to remember, here's the catch: another one of me being somebody else, a team member, is not going to build it as fast as me.
Sure.
We get stuck thinking, well, 3 of me or 3 more teams, I'll get 3 times the amount more work. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to probably get at best, in your best, you may get 75% of what you were putting in as owner operator. That's unless Joe, you're a guy that really wasn't any good at building fence to begin with. And there's some of the guys that's true. They can run a good business, but really they kind of sucked at building fence. And you'll talk to some guys like, I'm honest about it. I really wasn't that good at it. But I can run numbers.
Yeah. Well, and that's and so there's two different kind of lines of thought here. One is you hire people that are better at you to do the tasks that you do.
For sure.
That's and I'm the same way. My guys build incredible fence, and they probably build better fence than I would if I were to put my tool belt back on and get out there and build fence.
For sure.
They probably and they should. They're more in practice than I am. If I could get out there and build a better fence, we might be in trouble. But the other line of thought there too is. And I forget the exact number, but the thought is if you can find someone to do the task that you do at 80% proficiency, you should absolutely pass that off.
Yeah.
That is proficient enough to do it. I mean, if you can find somebody to do it at 100%, sure, but don't go looking for someone to do it at 100%. If you can find someone that does it at 80% and that frees up your time to then take on more higher level tasks, then it's time to pass that on.
I would absolutely agree with that. Yep.
So this is what happens with me. I get off on rabbit holes, right? and I chase these rabbit holes all the way down until I'm watching cat videos. But so let's I want to try to steer the bus back. Nashville, and it's February 25th and the 26th.
Yes.
Right? Which is a Thursday and a Friday. But there's also, because you said 2.5 days, that Saturday, we're also talking about having a roundtable discussion, guys that can stay, and that's fine. And here's where this brainchild came from, maybe, is so the Saturday after St. Cecilia University, it was me and Caleb and a guy we know named Ruben Borg and a few of Caleb's team were all kind of sitting around there at St. Cecilia Experts. And we had the most amazing several hours. Just the chairs were just in a circle, and it was Caleb saying, "Hey, Joe, what do you do about this?" It was mainly me. So if anyone knows Ruben Borg, like this guy is he does a ton of fence. I want to learn I want to dissect everything in his head and put it in my head. And so most of the roundtable is me saying, "Hey, Ruben, how do you do this? Hey, what do you do when you see this?" And so what I think we're trying to replicate there is trying to do that at scale.
Right? Yeah, so it may not be a round table. It literally might be outside in a field, and we're just like all like hanging out and talking outside, especially with the environment we're currently dealing with. That might be the case, but I'm going to be there this Saturday because the 9 hours on the 26th is going to be getting it, and I'm going to really be moving along to get through the content. And then Saturday, like it's open book. Like I'm going to hang out with you and Caleb and whoever else is there for half a day, whatever it takes, and just like maybe have a beverage and hang out.
Yeah, that's. When we go to conference, or at least when I go to conferences, whether it's FinTech or social media marketing world, whatever these conferences are, I always learn something at them, sure. But I really think where I get the most value is the evening of that. Like we're getting dinner with me and 2 or 3 people. It's like having breakout sessions, right? And it goes and dinner goes until midnight or something where, the food's cold. It's already been taken away. They're trying to shut the restaurant down. And you're like, all right, but one more minute. So when we're talking about marketing, or whatever it is,
I have been there so many times and lived that same experience. It's amazing. You just feed off each other. And pretty soon you're talking about all kinds of nuances, and you leave there and you're so energized and ready to go. You want to go back to your team and go tell them what you just learned. And it's amazing.
And it happened outside of the event, right? And so I think that's also what we're trying to replicate is we have that, half a day or a day. I'm going to be in town. So I fly in Wednesday and I fly out Sunday. So that way I've got a full day Saturday for whoever wants to chat about whatever. And I'm going to be a little bit selfish because I'm going to have some questions for Sean. I'm going to say, hey, we talked about some things on the live, but I want to talk to you more about company cam or something just completely off the wall. And so that's the idea, guys, is that there's going to be, structured training Thursday and Friday. And then Sean's verbiage is absolutely, it's an open book Saturday to where someone, says, hey, when we were building that fence yesterday and we did it like this, why did we do it like that? I thought about it last night and I've got some more questions. Because I think there's a tremendous amount of value there. I really do.
I'm excited for it. I really am. I think it's the next best thing we could do. We can't replicate FinTech by any means, but I think it's the next best thing we can do to get something done. That week prior that we're having that first annual Mr. Fin's Academy retreat is going to be really special from Monday to Friday. I'm really looking forward to that. But that's specific one-on-one type training in Nashville.
That's very exciting. So are you guys doing that in Nashville proper or outside Nashville?
We have a giant 9-bedroom, 10,000 square foot home rented, and each company has a room. And so we're all going to live and have catered food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we're going to live and breathe and learn and talk about Fins together.
I love that.
So I'm excited about that.
And so it's like summit style, like you're holding a summit, an on-site summit.
Literally, and it's intimate, right? So I mean, it's not like a large. I mean, we're talking about a finite number of people that are going to be there. We're going to have our team and coaches there, and really work on people's business directly, one-on-one. Sitting across the table and stuff like that.
That sounds amazing. And so I'm going to talk to you about that off air. I think that's something I would like to learn more about. Right. So that's coming up. And if you guys want, the sign up link should be in the description below this broadcast. I entered it in beforehand. So you can click on the link and it's a Google form. You can fill out the information for that. Learn a little bit more about it. So 25th and 26th, of course, you guys can come in before. I'm going to come in on the 24th, and I'm staying until I'm fly out early on Sunday, whichever at the 28th, 26th, 28th. So
I'm driving, so I'll be there as long as need be on Saturday. So it's not a big deal for me.
I love that a lot. All right, so but if you guys have more questions about the event, drop those in the comments. I'm kind of keeping an eye on the comments. Let's catch up a little bit. So Jonathan Bodall is going to be there. Looking forward to meeting you, Jonathan. Mark Knudson's a friend of the channel. He's been on quite a bit. We don't have people working for us. We work for them. Absolutely. So that's the inverted pyramid that we were talking about before. I'm there to serve everyone that works with us. Mike agrees at the 80%. That was a mentality shift for me. I think for a long time I was stuck in the rut of trying. Before I handed off a task, I'd want to know that they could do it at 100%, and a lot of times that's just not not achievable. Maybe that's not the word. It's just not realistic to expect someone to do it exactly the same way to get exactly the same results.
It's going to slow your growth tremendously because you're going to take longer to find that person.
Absolutely. Oh, Ashley says, Manny and I will be in charge of the schedule, so there will be no room for rabbit holes. I like this a lot.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Right.
May the fence gods be with you.
Yeah, oh man. Yeah. But that's probably what I need. I probably need somebody in the back of the room going, hey, we're wrap this up. We're talking about cats. Why are we talking about cats at this place? Chris Steele says, don't expect your team members to work as hard as you. They do not own the business. 100%. Absolutely. And I think this is probably one of the reasons why you see large companies have employee buy-in, right? Or employee owned portions of the company. It's probably trying to achieve something like that. But that's right. It's unfair to expect them to care about your business in the same way you do.
That's
right.
I think it's actually naive.
Yeah, it's not realistic.
It's your fault. If you really think that a team member is going to do things outside of it, to a certain extent, you can build a great culture and they're going to go over and above. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, they are not the owner of the company. And so you can't expect them to be slinking at home thinking about your business all night long and in the morning. It's just not going to happen.
It's unrealistic.
It's probably unfair to even think you can ask.
It is. And in my experience working for that home improvement store, I can tell you with certainty, I did not care about that company nearly as well as the executives did. Just because I was not incentivized to. Like, I didn't have any reason to. Now, did I take pride in my work? Yeah, because that work was a reflection of me. But I didn't care about their quarterly earnings, and I didn't, you know what I mean? It just because it just wasn't reasonable. All right, Martin Baby says, is it okay to set posts on super saturated ground? I'm digging 24 inches for the Postmaster post, and I'm using, but at around 20 inches, water starts to pool up.
You probably have to wet set them at that point, but
yeah, I don't see a problem with that. You're going to hit a water table at some point. Sean's Florida guys know all about water tables.
Definitely.
So down there, Sean, what is water table down there? It's really shallow, isn't it?
Today, I had a team send me a video that it was literally they hit sea level. They were building the fence at sea level, and as soon as they hit 2 inches below grade, it's just full of water. Oh. And I'm like, what do we do? I said, well, we should probably drive the post 10 foot in the ground, really.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So, we ended up having to drive a little deeper, and it's just a wet set is what it is. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, because when you wet set it, it's going to force that moisture up and out of the
hole. I've done docks underwater and used dry concrete, poured it underwater, and had completely solid footers when I got done. So we build all of our docks that way. I know it'll set up. You put a bag of concrete in a lake, it's going to pull out of the rock. But I guess for him, if it's starting to pull up water, I would set quickly. Or if your wet mix ready, pour it in the hole, it'll push the water out.
Yeah, it'll force that water up and out.
Yep.
So what's interesting, Sean, so I did some post foam videos, right? And after that, I received an outpouring of communication from other foam companies. Just let me know exactly why that other brand just wasn't the right, on and on and on. But one of them sent me a video of their foam. It was a hole that it's a 5-gallon bucket that was like half full of water. They poured this foam and it forced that water up and out. Like I was very intrigued until I went online and I saw the price of that product, and I'm like, maybe not for us, not feasible for fencing.
Right.
Utility poles, sure, but Martin, to answer your question, Sean's exactly right. If you wet set it, you'll be fine. The quicker the better, right? Yeah. But it'll force that water up and out. Wade's got a good question. Where are people staying for the Nashville event? So the event technically isn't in Nashville. It's outside of Nashville. I say Lebanon because we have a Lebanon, Missouri. Some folks say Lebanon. Tennessee, Lebanon or Lebanon, Tennessee is where this is at. I'll have to see. Let's see. I want to tell you exactly where. There's several hotels right there. I'm actually staying at the. I don't know. Should I say this? I probably should say this. That's fine.
It'll be all right.
Let's see.
Hotels, what's going to happen? Everybody's going to go there.
Yeah. So the La Quinta is where I will be staying. La Quinta, right there on the interstate. So there's several good hotels right there in the area. I stayed in another one. I forget what the name of it was, but they're all very clean. The nice thing about Lebanon is it's a smaller town, so it has that small town feel. You know, we ate at a couple restaurants there locally. One of them, both of them were really good. It's just small town atmosphere. But yeah, I'm staying in La Quinta, but any of the hotels right there, they're all kind of in a half-mile radius of each other. So
now I had built a fence in Lebanon, so we called it Lebanon. Yep. I built a fence there. We did. Our team did.
Oh, really?
The rock was, oh my gosh, it was
real.
So I'm hoping. I mean, it wasn't. I say rocks. It wasn't rocks. It was one rock the size was 1,000 feet. one gigantic asteroid that was in the ground that a little bit of moss and dirt on top of it was hidden. So learned my lesson on that one.
You hit rock singular.
One rock. It was a rock, and the fence was thousands of feet long. Right. We still couldn't find the edge of that rock.
Yeah, one big old rock. Yeah, big ledge rock. Maybe someone can make a Google site or flyer with all the info for the Nashville event. Yeah, so you should be able to find a lot of the information in the link. The link that I've got in the description below is from Stainless Steel experts over there. So it's kind of a 2-for-1, right? It enters your information so they know kind of what to expect, how many to expect. It also has a little bit of information about the event. But one thing to consider is Sean and Caleb are putting this together because the FinTech, the cancellation was announced, was it last week, 2 weeks ago, maybe?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is all coming together very quickly.
Yeah.
It's filling a void that was left, but it's filling it very quickly. It's a month and a half away. So a lot of this is still in flux. It's going to be at the fairgrounds there in Lebanon. So where we held, if you guys were at the Stainless Steel University training, it's going to be at the same property, likely a different building. The building we were at, it was 100 or 120 people, and it was a full room. Now this was pre-COVID, all of that business. Actually, I guess it was. It must have been in the beginning of all this because we actually took a trip into Nashville and we're sorely disappointed to learn all of the restaurants, everything closed at 10, like 10 or 10:30 or something like that. And I'm talking about the burger shop down the street and everything. Walgreens closed. It was like a citywide mandate that all the businesses at the time had to close at like 10 or 10:30. So that was frustrating to drive, a half hour into Nashville and not be able to eat. But anyway, yeah. So information in the link below. Sean. So we talked about the event. If you guys have any more questions about the event, drop them in there. We'd love to talk more about it. But let's talk about Fence King.
Okay, quick story about Fence King, where that came from and why we did that.
Yeah.
So I like to use the thought process of if we're all in a war, basically fighting through our competition in our localities, fighting for work, and we think it's worse than it really is. That's a whole nother story about,
sure.
There's plenty of work out there is what I've learned. But back again, this was 15 years ago when I was on top of the world. I had this thought that if I'm going to fight this battle, and back then I believed in only installing the best fence out there. Like I believed it was only the best brand and the best method. And it was just like, you're going to buy the Cadillac and that's it. Why would you buy anything else? And I kind of naively dismissed all the other business because not everybody needs or wants the Cadillac. Okay. There's a difference. There's a good, better, best window in there.
Yes.
So with that mentality, I got this mindset that I'm fighting this battle with all of these other guys around me. And some of them are legit fence companies and some are really the smaller guys in the pickup truck with no overhead that are little experienced and maybe more of a handyman than they are a fence guy or maybe from a different trade. And they're talking to the same homeowner that I'm talking to. They got the same lead. And I'm like, okay, So if this is the case, now this is what we did. I thought I would rather fight that war on their turf than my turf. In other words, I would rather fight a war overseas than here in the United States. I would rather fight it somewhere else. So the war being the high-end clientele. That's what I was looking for, right? And I had people that were not qualified that were trying to bid high-end clientele that were just coming right under my radar under a price that had no experience to build that fence. So we were losing jobs. The guys were unqualified, and then the job would get built and didn't meet expectations. So I thought, all right, let's start another business. We also had Lowe's and Home Depot who were hounding me to install their products back then.
Yep.
And I didn't believe in back then, it wasn't even Pro Series. They were basically, you're going to install what they had on their shelf.
Yeah.
Like do yourself. And no matter how hard you tried, it was really difficult to even make that work and then make money at it. So
Sure.
I said, in the same building, we started Fence King. And I had this cool logo in a truck. Back then, I had Fence King, Stain Pros, Deck Pros, Mr. Fence of Kentucky, Fence King, King Enterprises, Mr. Fence Tools back then, all these companies in 06 in one location. And we did that, and we had one payroll went through King Enterprises. Everybody worked for King Enterprises.
Yeah.
Paid, and then subbed out the labor to all the other companies. The guys would come in and change their shirts literally in a locker. Fence King one day, Mr. Fence the next day, Stain Pros the next day. They'd be sent out on different. They were all different businesses.
Yeah.
But Fence King was set up to do what? Literally become like a lost leader out there, bidding projects, doing all the Lowe's and Home Depot job. We would build the cheapest fence. Like it wasn't about the high end quality. We were literally buying cheaper material, and we kept all the competition so busy chasing this Fence King guy around who was undercutting them everywhere and see, how did you guys like it? When we went over here and just had a utopia because they were so busy chasing this guy, they left us alone. Right or wrong, this is what I did for 2 years. And we did probably $500,000 back then in that time, in a year, and really broke even, made no money.
Sure.
But we had no expense because we just operated out of the same location Mr. Fence was at. So we had Fence King, and eventually in 08, when the economy went, I couldn't afford to keep all those companies open.
Yeah, right.
It's on Mr. Fence. But yeah, the side story is, Dan, I was there. Fence King was a thing. I still got Fence King shirts and logos. But we let that, and I don't know that that's the right thing to be doing, but that is what I did do through my process of learning. I did do that. It was effective at the time. It worked.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing, Sean. So it's not like you guys are doing lower quality workmanship, right? It is the same workmanship, but it was just a different level of material.
So I didn't want a homeowner driving down the road to see a Lowe's or Home Depot fence that Mr. Fence installed with our truck sitting out front and judging us by the product that we were putting in because that's what the homeowner wanted.
Right, right.
And so that's why I separated. I didn't want anyone to know that was us.
So it sounds similar. One of our competitors in our market does something similar, except for they'll use their own trucks, and we'll say, not the actual company, but we'll say it's called Acme Fence, right? And Acme Fence is the main fence that everyone knows for quality and on and on. When they do a fence, so they have a proprietary board that they do themselves. But when they did a fence out of like a treated pine, a lower quality product, they had a different sign. So instead of Acme Fence, it was A&M Fence. Now the phone number still rang to Acme, but the sign, but they didn't have an Acme sign on a fence that they knew just wasn't going to look great, for years to come.
That's probably a pretty smart marketing thing because homeowners who don't know the difference are going to judge you based on that product that consumer picked out. Yeah. And we end up shortchanging ourselves sometimes with work because we're like, no, we're too good for that. Or I don't believe in that product. And the homeowner does. And maybe it's a good product for what they need. It's just not the best product.
Well, and honestly, Sean, as a business, we go back and forth with that, right? Do we want the treated pine shortage was somewhat of a mixed blessing for us because we've been having that conversation of, do we want to still offer treated pine post rails and pickets, knowing that, right now with the treatment, 2 weeks ago, we were jerking out posts that were installed by someone else, but installed 6 years ago that were already starting to show signs of rot.
Yeah.
right? So it's a lower quality material. So do we want to offer that? Because my argument was I don't get a chance to explain myself to a potential client that sees my name on that fence. I don't get a chance to say, well, now consider this. They were given options of a pre-stained cedar material fence on steel posts that has a lifetime warranty, but they chose to go with this. I don't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
I get judged by my sign being on that treated pine fence that wasn't stained and sealed. It was just let go. You know, the fence was probably left, or the gate was left open, so it's slammed open and shut. It doesn't look right anymore. On and on and on. I don't get a chance to defend myself against that.
So maybe the other alternative to this to fill the gap would be maybe just if that's the problem, just don't put a sign on it. And maybe that's what I should do at this point too, because we do treated pine fences as well.
Yeah.
There's a demand for them here. And just today I was shooting a video on what to expect from a treated pine fence.
Sure.
This is going to get sent to every one of our customers before they sign the contract, after we give them the bid for treated pine. Yep. Is me saying, hey, you're looking at buying a treated pine fence. Let me show you the difference between cedar and treated pine to make sure that you understand what you're looking at. See the difference. And I literally went to a bunch of projects, some that were just brand new, some were 2 weeks over, 2 months old, some were 30 years old, right? Old fence. Yep. And I'm showing them like what a check is, what a split is, what a crack is, what does shrinkage look like, what is warping, what do we mean? When I put in writing that we guarantee all of our wood fence to check, crack, split, warp, deteriorate, and discolor in as little as 2 weeks. And people are like, they're like, okay, I'm fine with that. And I've had it in there for years, but we still get people upset. No. Right. And I'm like, well, put it in writing. But then here's my fault, because did I explain to them what that meant? They read it, they thought, oh, I thought maybe cracked in half. And I'm talking about, like a crack you can put your pinky in. Like that's what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. So we shot video today of me literally going to cracks and going, this is what I'm talking about. This is warping, and this is shrinkage, and this will happen. We talked about staining and how that's going to help tremendously, but not prevent. Right. It cannot stop all this, but it can drastically reduce it.
Yeah, it reduces the chances, it minimizes the effects, but at the end of the day, wood is a natural product.
And the part of the video was, you know, wood is beautiful and natural. We sell barn wood for an exorbitant amount of price because we love what? We love the cracking, the discoloration, the weatherability of it, right? We pay high dollar for that. Yep. So wood can look amazing. You can't hardly duplicate that in vinyl, but we got to make sure that they understand how it's going to look. It's, you know, expectations is everything. So this video was going to be sent to them with the quote. This video will also be on our website, so that when they're looking, they're like, hey, and click on it. It says, what is to expect a wood fence? So out the gate, let's go ahead and have that conversation with them immediately, right? But we're still offering it. But like you said, now we built this wood fence. That's what they wanted. It's cracked and warped everywhere because they didn't stain it. They used treated pine. Do we put a Mr. Fence sign on it?
We don't.
Well, and we have been, and I'm thinking like, okay, maybe we don't.
Yeah, we don't. And occasionally we'll get the call saying, hey, your guys didn't put an Ozark fence sign on this fence, and I paid for an Ozark fence.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We do, I think, the same thing you do, where it's a lifetime warranty on the fence, but it's got to have this fence sign on it. And then my guys sign the back and date it.
Bingo.
And put it on there. Now we know who built it, when they built it, and if it's ever taken off, it voids the workmanship lifetime warranty, right? That's our deal.
That's it.
You know, because at the end of the day, years ago, we started a lifetime workmanship warranty probably 15 years ago, maybe even more.
I love it.
And back then, people were like, are you crazy? And I said, not really, because if we did something wrong, you think I'm not going to fix it anyways?
That's the point, is that we have competitors in our market that, you know, told me to my face that we were crazy for ever offering a lifetime warranty. And that was my point. I was like, guys, here's the thing. Here was our thought process. Here's exactly how it happened. Is I was talking to our crew chief on our wood crew, because at the time we offer, like, in our market, 1 year labor warranty is pretty standard. And so I asked the crew chief, I said, you know, this 1 year, how often are we doing warranty repairs or repairs in general on fences older than a year? He was like, well, you know, I don't know, once a month, maybe something like that. It's usually gates. Okay. Are we charging them? Well, no. I mean, it took me 5 minutes. I just ran through I was in the neighborhood. It
Exactly.
didn't feel right to charge them the minimum charge. And okay, so my point is, we're offering a lifetime warranty, but we're calling it a 1 year, right? So
Because we're
let's
scared of getting on the hook, right? We're scared of getting on
right,
the hook. But,
right. But
um,
you know,
doing it wrong, you should be on the hook for that.
exactly. I mean, we got paid money to install a fence.
If you installed a fence and cut all the posts off at 12 inches in the ground because you didn't want to dig the holes deep enough and it blows over,
Yeah.
well, you know what? That's kind of like your responsibility. You want to be a professional in the industry, you do it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that's just my belief. If you want to send a company, you're going to take care of it and so then at that point, put a lifetime workmanship. I'm not at all talking about material.
Yeah.
Workmanship means I installed it according to manufacturer's specs or industry standards. That's what I go by.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
And that's it. And if my guys, so I have standards in place with my guys, our team, but I will, to be honest, I mean, we've got 25, 30 team members here and 25 in Florida. There are times then our standards don't get met. There are times where I'll show up at a job site, I'm like, what? That's not how that's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And the homeowner's right. And if my team did it wrong.
Right.
So am I going to argue with the homeowner and say, no, it's outside of 1 year?
Well, absolutely. And even if you only offered a 1 year, you would still fix it. Right. Because especially in today's age of social media, one upset person can absolutely torch your business for years.
Yeah.
You know, they will follow you around all over social media, and they will air their grievance for everyone to hear.
Yeah.
Whereas, so my thing is, how do we take that experience and flip it on its head? How do we take it from someone upset that we didn't do it to someone that's pleasantly surprised that we did do it? For us, it's gates. So our gates are steel posts, steel frames, steel hardware. This thing's bulletproof, right?
Yep.
But it still does have a limiting factor, and that is if you leave this thing open and the wind grabs it and slams it open and slams it shut, it can come out of adjustment.
Yep.
Now, is that a workmanship issue? No. I mean, it was installed correctly, and part of our checklist is that the crew goes over operations of the gate with the homeowner. And the homeowner says, yes, they showed me how to work it. It is in good working order. So if they call me 2 years down the road and we go out there and we look at it, you know, the way the hinge is attached to this post, you can see, you know, grooves in the pipe where it's like a 180-degree hinge. It has these jaws on it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you can see where it twisted. And the homeowner knows most of the time, but they're going to tell you it's a warranty. They're going to, yep, this thing never worked right from day one. I just forgot to call you guys. Okay. We'll still fix it 100%. And we're not charging them, even though technically, you know, it's user error. It's not a workmanship issue at all. We'll point it out and we'll let them know that we know. We'll say, well, you probably what happened, you didn't even notice it, is the wind probably grabbed this thing. It's probably overnight while you're sleeping, slammed it open, slammed it shut. It looks like it happened quite a lot. You can see the grooves right here. Technically, it's wind damage, but I'm already here. It's already fixed. It's a 5-minute thing. I'm going to just write it up as a warranty. I'm okay with that if you're okay with that. How's that sound? Well, Now, you know, in the back of their mind, they thought they were going to get a bill for this, right? It's not a workmanship thing, but we still fix it for free because it took 5 minutes. You know, it took 5 minutes and they're in the neighborhood.
It's a huge PR marketing opportunity that most of us will miss because we're of the wrong mindset. Right?
Sure.
Look at the opportunity, not look at the negative. Oh, I got to send somebody to fix that. No, here's an opportunity to show off why my company is different than somebody else. Yep. Oftentimes, when I'm talking to a consumer about a fence, I tell them right up front, we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. But what I'm very proud of is that we have a system and a process for those mistakes. We have blue sheets and pink sheets in-house. So if something were to happen, it's not going to be a Post-it note on somebody's screen. They're going to get by there someday and sometime. You're not going to track us down to try to call us and tell us about your problem. We are literally going to answer the phone. We're going to take that problem. It's going to get scheduled and fixed. Like, I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and tell you we're perfect. We're human beings. We're going to have bad days and good days. We're going to make mistakes, but
sure.
I don't think there's too many of my competition out there right now in my area that tracks even what they repair. That tracks the repairs. They don't have a process.
Right.
That's what this is behind me, actually. Those are blue sheets are
Nice.
warranty, and pink sheets are small adjustments that the homeowner wants to have done and pay for. So
Nice.
those are right in front of our face.
Yeah.
Every day, and we track them.
Well, here's the thing. So the term that we're looking for is raving fans, right? We want raving fans every day. And in this instance where, with this example of a gate adjustment, could we charge them a couple $100, service charge? Maybe. They're going to be upset about it because they don't want to pay for it, even though we show them, hey, this wasn't a workmanship issue. So anyway, they're not leaving us a review, and if they do, it's probably not positive. But we got a couple $100 out of this. If you flip that coin on the other side and you said, would you pay $200 for a raving fan? All day, every day, the answer is yes. How many can I buy?
Yep.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And so that's what you're doing by offering a warranty, a lifetime workmanship warranty in our case, that we don't charge someone $200 for this gate adjustment. Now, is every one of them a raving fan at the end of it? No. But so the cost is probably different, right? If 1 out of 3 turns into a raving fan, now I just paid $600 for a raving fan. But if that raving fan brings in one job,
you're even.
Done. Yeah, done.
Even. Yeah.
And again, it goes back to in today's day of social media. How many times do you guys get tagged in Facebook group questions of, hey, I need a fence installed. Who you guys know that builds fence? And then you want your rabid fans, your cheerleading base to flood this and tag you. You only call Ozark Fence. Ozark Fence is the best. I love these guys. Ask them about their warranty. On and on and on. You want that. And if I have to pay $600 for that, I will. I absolutely will, because it leads to future work.
But the reality of it is, you're not paying $600. You would have charged them 100 or 200, right?
Right.
Listen to what the cost really was. The guy was on that side of town, anyways. He made the adjustment. It literally took him 5 or 10 minutes. Let's look at the dollars there. What did it really cost us? Maybe an hour, $25,
yeah,
30. I don't know, $10 on fuel.
Well, and here's to drill into this a little bit further. All of my guys drive big orange trucks. So it put my orange truck in that neighborhood in front of that house.
Yep.
And so how many people, I mean, obviously it's wintertime, but if it's summer, how many people walked by and saw that truck?
Yep.
How many people saw that truck on the road to and from the job site? I mean, so the marketing standpoint, I mean, it pays for it.
It paid for it.
Yeah, it's absolutely paid for.
I have taken really upset consumers that were they're ready for a fight. I mean, they really thought they had a fight, and show up and like, oh, you're absolutely right. We'll take care of that. And by the way, since I'm here, I noticed that doesn't meet our standards. I blow their mind. Like, what?
Bingo.
Yeah, we're going to tear that one section out and move that over there, and this isn't quite right, but don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. Got it. And they're like, huh? I said, tell you, just do me a favor. If you ever know anyone needs a fence, just at least tell them to call us and give us a shot. This is how we can take care of everybody. Have a great day. And
Bingo.
they're like, you don't see that kind of service.
No. Well, that's it. Is you go above and beyond the expectation.
Yeah.
And that makes a memorable impact on that person. And there's another saying out there along the lines of, a mistake is an opportunity to win a customer over or client over.
Like I said earlier, it's an opportunity. We got to look at this as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to reconnect with that consumer that you get to, like, now you get to be the knight in shining armor, show up and have an opportunity to either fix it or really piss them off. And
yeah, right.
I'm not going to honor that. Really?
Right.
Like, you have a chance now to really put your stamp on who you are and then why you're different than everybody else. Because let's face it, there's a lot of guys who can build fence probably just as good as you.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
And so what's the difference? The difference is right now, when the rubber meets the road and there was a problem, what are you going to do about it?
Absolutely. Well, so I follow this guy, Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V, and he talks a lot about it. He went on a rant about this. He's like, guys, I am telling you, I almost want to make one mistake per, and they do marketing. He goes, I actually want to make one mistake per transaction just to be given the opportunity to jump into that. Not only do I own it at 110%. We're going to make it right, just to provide that impact, that wow experience. He goes, I kind of want to build into my process one mistake to give myself the opportunity to own that.
That's
now,
exactly what I'm talking about. You're coming as a knight in shining armor. You have an opportunity to be bad guy or the guy that's a save in the play. Save. So
100%. And the mentality at our place is, and this is a Gary Vee quote, we are a customer service company, comma, that happens to install fence.
I like it.
Right?
I love that. That's great. That's really, really, really good. Because there's a lot of guys that build fence. There's a lot of guys that build fence, and there's a lot of guys that build fence just as good as you and I.
Well, and you read the same posts in these Facebook groups that I am. Is that there another new, whether you call them Chuck in the truck or whatever you call them. Oh, another $99 guy's in my market. Oh man, yeah, guys, that's because we're in the middle of a great economy. We've had a great economy for years and years and years. We've been overdue for a correction for years.
I know.
So you're going to see that. I mean, lending is cheap right now. Credit. I mean, the FHA and VA just lowered their lending standards to 600 credit score. And now in fencing, I'm applauding that. I love that because that means we get more new homeowners in the marketplace.
Yeah.
But it also means that credit is easier to get. So you're going to see more of these guys. I mean, for a fencing company, if you've got a truck in a any of these home improvement credit cards, you could be a fence company now.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. So to your point, how do you set yourself apart from them? Building fence isn't rocket science. I can teach a lot of people to build fence. So how do you set yourself apart from that is kind of the overarching theme.
So for us, a little tip, we actually market. Our slogan here is experience the Mr. Fence difference. And that's all over our marketing campaign. And whenever I do my live videos, like I did one just earlier for our community, so on this edition of Experience the Mr. Fence difference, let me show you what we're doing that's different than the next guy.
I like that a lot.
Hey, I have the best fence. Come buy from me. I got the cheapest prices. It's just, you know what? Give me some time for you real quick. Let me show you what the Mr. Fence difference is. Let's talk about it. I actually go and talk about fence. This today was because we have a bunch of material in stock here. Like that's why we're different than our competition. Is that we have it, and our competition is going to be ordering it and waiting weeks and weeks and weeks. We have a bunch of stock. That's what today's video is about.
Yep, I like that. So because here's the thing, words are words, right? Is I can say, and you see guys do it. The low cost leader is one slogan, or where quality makes the difference, or there's a dime a dozen quotes out there.
The best fence. I mean, I get that all the time. I'm like,
yeah.
Who qualifies you the best? I don't know.
It's like insert your area here. Like Jacksonville's #1 fence company. Number one at what?
Right.
But yeah, so you really have to show what makes you different, right? And that makes all the difference in the world. I'm going to skip around in the comments here because this kind of is on that same vein. Mike Valcanet says, I do small repairs, sometimes for free, just so they leave me a review on Google. Simple gate adjustments or broken pickets. So this is something I love a lot, and is to the point of if I, in employment, everyone knows how tight the employment market is right now. So it's not happening at the moment, but I love to have a one-man crew in an Ozark fence truck that only does repairs. I love that model a lot. And I like how you take it. So we usually do them for cost, but I like how you take it a step further and you do them for free, knowing that it's a loss leader.
Yeah.
Right. All the major brands have loss leaders. Yeah. But I like that a lot.
It gives you opportunity to advertise, put you out there for a good reason, right? Yeah. So I think there's a lot of value in a larger company to have a one-man experience. Maybe it could be an older team member that's been through the ringer for a long time and he's like needs something easier to do. He's done digging holes, and you give that guy the opportunity to kind of retire out that way. It's a one-man truck, and I could see it. I don't have it currently, but I thought about this. You have one guy out there doing small repairs, and if you could literally do most of them for free, I mean, could you imagine? Well, it puts you in front of people. You're like, hey, when you're ready to actually replace the fence, just remember to give us a call, give us a chance, have a conversation. You're getting adjusted. Have a nice day. I love it. People come in people come in my lobby, and they're like, I need a cap. This bracket broke. I need 4 of these. And they're like, how much is that? Free.
Yep.
What? Don't worry about it. Like for all 5 of these caps, and I know I've been to other competition and I watch them charge $2 for a cap, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why did you even do that? Like, you missed a huge opportunity right there. I blow people's minds. I'm like, just remember us if you would.
Yeah.
When you're ready for the replace your fence. Have a nice day.
Exactly. It was that $8 transaction worth it. It will not be memorable.
But
it's expected.
Joe, that same person that charged $8 or $6 and go back to their office and hit Facebook advertisement and spend $200 and go, come on, somebody call me.
Right.
Like,
Right.
they were just in your lobby, and you could have bought that client for $8.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And
we gotta change our thinking. Like, I'm not giving away for free. I'm here to make money. Okay. Yes, you are. Yes, we are. I want all of us to make money.
Yeah, to an extent. But is that $8 going to break you? If so, there's some other issues here.
But the point of the matter is, we don't put it in context. You're going to spend hundreds of dollars on Google or Facebook ads.
Yep.
And try to get a chance to get in front of somebody when somebody just walked in your lobby and they needed something to repair their gate because they can't afford a new fence just yet.
Yeah.
And you gave it to them?
Well, in going back to Mike's example about small repairs, sometimes for free. So in Google during the summer months, we'll spend a couple $1,000s a month on Google advertising. How many repairs could you do for $2,000 a month?
Oh, at cost?
A lot. That's what I mean. Yeah, a lot.
A lot. And imagine how much buzz that would create.
Oh,
I mean,
if you became known as the fence guy that does free repairs, forget about it.
You just gave me a great idea. The fence guy does free repairs. That's actually, all you have to do to advertise that is give it a ceiling what a repair is. Let's say minimal repairs, anything less than $200 we do for free.
Right.
Wow.
Yep.
What's the risk? Eventually you're known as, you got people, you got auto or repair shops that do diagnostics for free.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah. And who do you take your car to? Well, I want to take it to the diagnostic for free.
That's right. That's right.
Why are we not doing the same thing?
Yeah, when other automotive shops charge $500 for this diagnostic machine because they're like, well, the machine's expensive and you got to have somebody running it. Okay. So Mike, you are now responsible for what's getting ready to happen in our market, because like the gears of my mind are like churning right now. And
this is what's going to happen in February. We're sitting there on Saturday.
Yes. This
is what I'm talking about. This is what happens.
Yeah.
We sit at a restaurant until they close down, and we're like, yes, that's a good idea. I'm going to take it to this point, Yeah.
Yeah. To answer Dan's question, this is what's happening right now. There is going to be structured learning. There absolutely is.
I don't know how much structure is behind I'm just going to be building fence.
Well, but you know what I mean? Like there will be like subject matter and stuff like that. But this goes on afterwards, like in the evenings. And I'll be honest, like I got a suite at the La Quinta that's like, it's got a living room, it says, because I fully intend to like wrangle somebody in there and pick their brain till all hours of the night, like learning. And so this is what's going to go on. Man, Sean, I tell you what, let me pop this one up here. So Devin said it best. Divine Fence. Awesome. Glad you got Sean on. I am so happy, Sean, that you made time to come on here. Like from a purely like selfish standpoint, I love that I got 2.5 hours of your time to just learn. Like for me, like I cannot imagine the value that these people are just soaking up. Like guys, if you don't have like 2 or 3 pages of notes to go on, like you need to go back and watch this. That's a great thing about the YouTube video, though, is after the live, it automatically gets put over on the record side, so we can go back. This will probably be like required learning on my team member side. Like you need to go watch this because like there's so much value here. So far in this episode, we've had 346 playbacks already, which
that's awesome.
That's a record for my channel. Is you hardly ever see this many playbacks during a live. I think it's a testament to you, Sean, how much value you're bringing, and this is 2.5 hours, right? This is not. Can you imagine the scale that's going to be brought at this training event, which is, by the way, free.
Free.
I don't think we said that before.
Free.
Like cost of zero.
Yeah.
That's the amazing part of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I gotta jump in here and say Chris Steele, great friend of mine, one of our teams for sure. He just took it to the next level. Chris, we're doing this. Okay.
I like this a lot. Yeah, free repair Friday.
Because see, with Chris, he's like, we're doing the 4-day work weeks. Friday's the off day, and that's what everyone that we're working with. It's kind of the model we're going to. So this fits. You normally have a shop guy or one other guy, or there's somebody we can do this.
Yeah.
We need to quantify what this looks like, but man, a big flashy. Chris, we almost need to do this in the big blue car. You got to get loud and get some attention, and we'll probably do it in the monster truck. See, the monster truck's been sitting here, wondering what to do with it. It might be free repair Friday, monster truck driving around town.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like with a marketing mind like yours, Sean, I know there's going to be so much marketing around this. Like, keep an eye out for the big chrome repair truck. Like, that's all this truck does. If this truck is in your neighborhood, it's doing free repairs on Fridays. Yeah.
Be like the ice cream truck running down the road with a little siren going. People run outside. Hey, you adjust my gate. Yeah, this is what we're gonna do.
So it's funny you said ice cream truck.
It's ours.
Here's an idea I had last summer. We didn't do it because of the COVID and all that. I had this idea where we were going to rent an ice cream truck for a day and just say, like, what's your daily sale? Like, whatever, $400 or $500. Okay. I want you to park this thing in X neighborhood. For us, like maybe it's Emerald Park is a neighborhood we love to work in. And then we go into the neighborhood app, or we go into Facebook. We say, hey, Emerald Park residents, as a way of saying thank you to you.
Oh, great idea.
We're parking it. We're going to park. Now you got to clear with the HOA and all that. We're going to park this at the pool house. Come on by, grab some ice cream on us as a way of saying thank you. And that ice cream truck will be staffed by our team. Right. And we'll have, a few of us there available to, because the question is going to be, hey, I need a fence. I've been thinking about a fence. Well, I don't know. Do you got about 10 or 15 minutes? I'm free right now. Like, I'll just follow you over there. What do you think?
Eat your ice cream. We'll talk about your fence. So do we have time to talk about the marketing idea we've been using for Home Show?
Yeah. 100%. I don't mind if this goes over. Absolutely.
All right. So I got to share this because this was a great success story for us, and it kind of happened. I took a big risk, kind of like the ice cream truck idea. Everyone, when I did this, on my team thought I was crazy. My business coach thought I was crazy. So here's what we've done. For 20 plus years, we've done the Home Show, a local show where you go in, you rent an exhibit booth, you put your best display up, and you spend 2 days at least trying to generate as many leads as you can. You're talking to as many people. You're writing down their name and tracking all this information, and you put them in a pile, and you want to grab the next one. And your goal is to get as many leads as you can.
Yeah.
Compared to your guy sitting right across from you, he's another fence company. He's talking to the same person. You watch the person go over there, right? And every year you want to get more of those people in your booth, so you buy 2 booths. Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm gonna get bigger. You buy 3, and then you got 4. And pretty soon you're in the middle of the main floor, and you're the sponsor, and you're on the catalog. And these Home Show guys are trying to sell you the moon. They're like, well, why don't you sponsor the event? Like, why don't you spend $20,000 with us? Okay.
To be the premier sponsor.
So we have done that. I have spent $20,000+ before, right? And then you stop looking, okay, what was our return on investment? So if I spend $20,000 and I make a net profit, let's just use round numbers, 10%, okay? That's going to be 10% net profit. Means if I want to overcome the 20,000, I got to do $200,000 of extra work that I would have never done.
Just from that show.
Okay, so we can agree there's a break-even point there. So got to keep that in mind. Yeah. So I watched this break-even point, and I'm like, man, we're going to have to really sell like $300,000 to make it worth their while. And the reality of it is, after the show, what happens on Monday? They're chaotic. You can't even answer the phone because you're going around town trying to install or estimate fences everywhere.
Well, on Monday, we've got 2 gals in our office. All they do all day is call these slips back.
Yeah.
And set up appointments. That's all they do all day long.
And guess what? Your competition's doing the same thing. And it's a
Same thing.
race. And you're going to schedule the appointments and you're going to try to get there first. And then what happens is 2 weeks later, you're still going on the same appointments.
Yep.
But now this guy already has a fence built because he had his appointment 2 weeks ago, right?
Yep.
And you're like, well, that was a waste. Oh, okay, whatever, right? All right, so here's what we did. We downsized went from massive sponsor to a 110 by 10 booth. It was like $1,200.
Yeah.
We had a beautiful location. We had outdoor displays. Like that's really where I needed my customers to go. Come to my office. But we were off the beaten path. We weren't early on a major road or anything like that. So I said, let's do an open house at the same time as the home show, like literally compete.
Okay.
And my coach is like, are you nuts? Like they're going to whoop us. Why would you do that? I'm like, no, hold on. I'm not done. We're still going to have a 10 by 10 booth in the home show. But at the office, we're going to staff it with all of our team members. I want to bring in a professional smoker, and we're going to barbecue all day. We're going to clean this place up, empty our shop, put tables out, decorate around here, and get this place looking like tip-top shape. The 10 by 10 booth at the home show, we're going to staff that with a couple team members with documents and papers that have a map and a ticket for lunch or dinner. We're going to give it to you. Come and talk to us about a fence. You're like, absolutely. You know what? We have a great display across town at our location. And if you make that trek from here over there, when you're done walking around the home show, we're going to feed you and your family lunch or dinner on us. And to make it even better with your time, if you show up over there, we have team members ready to follow you home immediately and estimate your fence today. And on top of that, we're going to give you a reason to buy this weekend. So we're going to estimate it, give you a price today, and then we're going to give you a reason to buy, an incentive. I don't like the word discount. Discount was nowhere near in there.
Yes.
It's always a free upgrade or get them
Bingo.
to upgrade to something else. It's an incentive to buy.
Yep.
Okay. So we would give incentive to be solar lights, gates, something like that, depending on the size of the project. And my coach is like, there's no way that people are going to pay money to get in the home show and then drive across town to your location. I said, I'm feeding them. They got to eat anyways, right?
Yeah.
They
right.
really want the price anyways. This is before we had My Salesman or Geo Draw and stuff like that, right? They really want a price right now.
Yeah.
So we did this. Now, normally, give you a context comparison.
Sure.
Normally, we don't ever sell anything at the home show. So no signed contract with a check.
Yes.
You get really excited people, and you're like, oh, I'm selling that. But
Right.
nothing actually signed with a check. All right. That first time we did this, we had over $80,000 in signed contracts and checks by Sunday evening. I remember sitting there Sunday evening with my general manager. We're in the lawn chair drinking a beverage going, oh, my God, that worked. We still had 30, 40 leads to follow up on.
Sure.
Everybody, it was serious. They drove across town. And now my sales team is talking to people that are already self-qualified themselves.
Bingo.
We're feeding them dinner, and they're like, you guys are really over the top. Like, nobody else is doing this. And then we followed them home immediately. I would have foremans. This is what I did. Foremans follow them home. They know how to build a fence, right? So they measured it, figured out all the issues, brought it back. And my sales team never left the office. They were just writing deals. Boom, boom, boom. You would bring the next person. There was lines of people in my lobby. You bring them in. They had their little food they're eating. They're like, yeah. This one guy, I think I sold, the next year we did it, I think I sold him like a $26,000 fence because I gave him 5 free solar lights. He's like, oh, I'm not passing that up. What? That's all it took?
Yeah.
So, for those of you guys doing home shows, think about that. If you have a beautiful location, maybe compete the same weekend. And we advertised it, open house.
Yeah.
Show.
Did you do it as like a joint, like a customer appreciation?
So we had
that. Do something separate for that?
During that event, we would have customers show up.
Yeah.
Actually, sometimes year after year, to get their free food. Like, yeah, I bought a fence from you back. Yeah, and you remember them. You like talking about it. But that's cool because the other guy that's thinking about using you is watching this guy just the camaraderie. Like, hey, how you doing? My fence is holding up great. Dude, you can eat on me all day.
Yeah.
Because everyone that comes over here and sees this, you're like, he did that good for you?
And that guy is now telling everyone he knows.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe it. They did a fence for me like 2 years ago, but I can still go over there and get, free meal fry. Like they love to see me over there.
So look at the return on investment. I paid like $700 for all the food and for the guy to cook. Now, I did pay a lot more in labor.
Sure.
But that's a twofer. You hear me talk about twofers all the time. That's a twofer. I got benefit of them working, and I also gave back to my team members some extra income that they needed in the springtime.
Sure. Right. That's the thing is these home shows occur during our like slower season anyway.
Yeah.
Like that's why I love them. That's why I absolutely love them. So we're supposed to have one at the end of this month, but it got canceled. Or well, no, it didn't get canceled. It got pushed off, postponed to Mother's Day weekend of all things. And it's like our big one, like the big one of the year. Like it kickstarts everybody's year. We've got some more coming up, but. So that's my next question. Do you pick one like the premier home show? Because usually a lot of markets will have 2 or 3, 4 different shows.
The premier, but we also do an open house again without any show.
Okay.
So there's a lot of value. We did open house last year with a pizza bus. So this bus cooks hot pizza inside the bus, and you can sit in the bus. It's really it gets a lot of attention when it drives around town and parks. Well, we had them park it in our front lot. So we had people that literally just came in, and I opened it up as free pizza, and I thought I was a little worried about okay, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And it just wasn't bad. I mean, I had some safe measures in place just in case like the droves of the public showed up to get free pizza. I'm like, wait a minute, this is for people to get an estimate. Do you want an estimate?
Sure.
I didn't even have that problem. I had some people drive in, no estimate, no fence need at all, and they ate and left, but that's okay. Like it was okay because it was not out of control.
Right.
It was okay. If it started out of control, then the pizza bus was going to tell them, "Hey, this is free for customers," and estimating. But there's some value. Then they're talking about us. Oh, we got pizza today at Mr. Fence.
Yeah, it created a memorable moment.
Yeah,
it's another little aha that sticks in the back of their mind. So even if they don't become a customer, if they and I keep going back to this because it's such a big deal. If they see a Facebook post of, "Hey, who do you know that builds fence in our area?" They're going to go, "Oh, well, you got to call Mr. Fence."
Yeah.
And that just paid for the pizza. It absolutely paid for the pizza.
We saw on Facebook this past season, it would have been before last because it wasn't COVID time. It was before that. Saw a post where some kid was having a birthday. He might have been like 8 years old. Don't know the family. Don't know them at all. I don't know how I saw the post. And he was talking about he loves monster trucks. It was on a Saturday. I found a team member. I put on our crew app. I'm like, hey, who wants to drive the monster truck on Saturday to a birthday party? I do.
Yeah.
Right? So qualified team member picked up the monster truck, pulled up in front of the house in the monster truck. The kid is going wild, like, oh my God. The family's like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Come on and let them hop in there real quick, run around the block, and that was it.
And now you create a memorable moment for every person at that birthday party.
But these are the things that we need to be thinking outside the box, with our advertising and our marketing. Don't just follow the billboard, TV commercial, radio, sign. What can you do to get a major impact?
Yeah, because those are the expected media, right? And I do. We do radio. We do stuff like that. But those are expected. What can you do that's unexpected? Because expected things obviously aren't memorable. So, I mean, that's why like everything I do is orange. Because it's like people think it's hilarious that I have an orange wedding band and my phone case is orange. And like,
yes.
And you do the same thing with blue.
Yeah.
Now you're Mr. Blue, right?
Yeah.
I bet dollars to donuts. If you wear any color besides blue, people go, huh?
Yeah.
What? Why aren't you wearing blue? Like are you okay? Like, is everything all right? That happens to me. Like I'll wear. So here's the thing. My wife is so over the color orange. Like I've got a whole story. Like I'm not allowed to let me tell a story real quick. So I'm not allowed to decorate the house because orange is like, I will just do everything in orange. Well, but at the time we bought this new house and in our HOA, you have to have a tree in the front yard. The tree in our front yard died. So we had to get a new tree to be compliant. And so Taylor's like, hey, can you get that tree done? Like we got a letter from the HOA. Like, yeah. I know a guy. And so I called the landscaping guy I know. And I was like, hey, I need a tree. Like these are the requirements for the HOA and all that. He's like, okay, yeah, I got you. He goes, hey, dumb question. What color do you want that tree to be like in the fall? We're like, oh,
well,
is blaze orange an option? He's like, yes, it is. And I knew you'd say that. So here's 3 options for you.
Perfect.
And so I got this. It's called an October Glory. And so I got this thing and it's springtime, right? And so this tree's green all year long, or all spring and summer. And that fall, each day when I came home, I'd turn the corner and I'd look. Like, nope, not yet. Drive on home. Next day, look, nope, not yet. Then one glorious day, it was like that day, this tree is blaze fire orange.
Oh my gosh.
I walk in the house and my wife, the first thing she goes, the tree in front of that, you had to do the tree in bright orange. Like, yeah, but hey, I got thumbs up all through the neighborhood. So like people loved it. It's a good thing. But it's branding, right? It's all branding. And so whether it's orange or green or blue or purple, whatever, pick a color. Color branding is so impactful. You've got to pick a color and just go to the moon with it.
Yep.
You know, that's how it is with everything.
Yep.
Let me catch a few questions here. Chris says, now I have reason to blue chrome wrap the Freightliner.
That Freightliner started at Mr. Fence, and now it's at High Steel. It's going to get blue chrome.
I love it. I love that a lot. Ashley says she's already downloaded the Crew app. I will be doing that as soon as we're done here. So Alan's got the right idea. It says, I'll be watching again this evening, kind of been in and out doing other stuff, which is understandable. But the after-learning discussions are the best at the end of the day.
Yep.
Alan, 100%. Let's see. So then Alan says, I advertise fence when I go out with one guy and shovel sidewalks after it snows.
Yep.
I charge whatever they think it's worth or do it for free, but give them a card and a pamphlet. Absolutely. Yep. And that's and this is the point. It absolutely is. And it's memorable. It's something unexpected, so it's memorable. And guys, it can be one of 100 out-of-the-box ideas. The point being, like, find something that is unexpected that will be memorable and brand it as yours. Yeah. Like Alan will become known as the fence guy that also shovels your sidewalk, because I don't know a lot of guys that are super busy when sidewalks have snow on them. You know, so I love it. So Sean, something just popped in my mind. You had mentioned, and just talking about speaking outside the box, when we're talking about pandemic and we're talking about everyone shutting down, you had one of the most genius ideas is turn your car, the Chrome car, into like a food delivery service or something to that effect.
Yeah, I know we're on borrowed time, but what I did is I saw the opportunity, right? So when the COVID thing hit, I was trying to be as positive as possible. I'm just not a negative person. Like, this is good. And the restaurants were getting hit the hardest, and they were laying off team members because there just wasn't anyone going to eat.
Sure. But
we still wanted to buy food, but they didn't have a delivery service really set up at most of these places because they weren't ready for it. So we took our little silver bullet, little Ford Fusion that's sitting here in the parking lot that we use for estimating, and we weren't terribly busy. So the local restaurant guy I knew, I drove it over. I'm like, hey, this is yours to use. I don't know. Let's call it a month. Here's a fuel card. We're going to pay for all the fuel in this car. Okay. You pick one waiter or two. I'll pay for one waiter for the entire. So every day we had two waiters. And so we would pay payroll for an entire day. So they work 2 shifts. We pay for 2 shifts, right? For one person. And their job was to drive that car everywhere. So I was advertised, you can get free delivery. Just order your food. We'll bring it to you. So that business didn't have to pay for it. We paid for the team member and the fuel and gave them the car. And this little silver bullet was running around everywhere delivering hot Mexican food for a month, right? How much PR do you think we got for that? So how much did that really cost me? Like, you know, is doing the right thing because there was their team members getting laid off, right? They have a family to feed. I'm a firm believer in take care of your team +1. It's the +1 part that a lot of people forget.
Oh, yeah.
We're good at taking care of your team +1. Family +1. Team +1. Well, my +1 then was that team member at that restaurant. I can't take care of everybody, but I can take care of my +1. If we all do that, pretty soon everyone's taken care of that doesn't get taken care of by their team. But it was great outside the box thinking. It worked out great. That company now has a delivery service permanently.
Sure. And so now you've impacted the business owner. You've impacted like you said, the waiters that might not have had work otherwise. You had advertising in your community, because again, Dollars Donuts, these guys are probably delivering to neighborhoods that you would like to work in.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the cars all over town, and they're
delivering to your customer.
Yeah. 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 Because that's going to start a conversation. Wait a minute.
There's a chrome wrapped car in front of your house. You don't think they're going to notice that? This was just delivered in chrome.
Well, and how many times did the question get asked? Wait a minute. Well, you're delivering food in a fence car? What's up with that? And then this waiter's going to go, oh, you would not believe this.
It's me and me too, so that I can take care of my family. They're going to have chills. Like,
100%. Like, how many times did that story get told? All of them. Like,
what happened was it started a trend.
Yeah.
So it made the news, and what happened wasn't just plus one, because I saw other companies do what? The same thing. They took their car, and now the whole community's getting together behind a cause. Let's take care of our restaurants.
Yeah.
And start delivering. There was other contracting companies. There was other delivery companies jumping in.
Yeah. Well, and the cost to you was the vehicle, like use of the vehicle, so mileage, the fuel, and whatever the payroll was, but pennies on the dollar compared to the value you got out of it.
It was $2,000. $2,000 for a month's worth of constant advertisement. No.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the best advertising you did all month.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
And then it's on top of that, it's expense. We can talk about numbers all day long, but that's an expense, right? So it's not really $2,000 off my profit.
Exactly. Yeah. It didn't hit your bottom line.
That's right. So,
well, Sean, let's start wrapping this up a little bit, guys, because Sean has been very gracious with his time. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, I got a family ready to go eat dinner. They're like, "Are you going to be done soon?"
Yeah, I'm getting texts from my wife because I usually text her when I'm on my way home. She's like, "On your way home yet?" or ... yet. Okay, message received.
Yeah.
But guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Sean, like I said before, I appreciate your time. I can't wait to do this at scale here in about a month and a half.
Yeah.
If you guys want any more information, like I said, there's a clickable link in the description with a sign-up form, a little bit more information. And, of course, keep an eye out for Sean's post in the fence groups, as I'm sure he'll be posting all sorts of more information as it becomes available. And, of course, I will, too. I'll share that out as well.
I'm not hard to get a hold of.
Right.
You can message me on Facebook pretty easy.
Yep, that's right. Just wait for one of his what seems like a daily live video. He's all the time giving us more food for thought, more things to chew and grind on.
Yep.
But, well, guys, I appreciate that, Sean. I do. I appreciate your time, guys. I appreciate your guys' time for sticking out with us. And until next time, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors.
Thanks. See you guys.